This
All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to day two of our 3-day challenge. Give me just 1 second. I'm gonna let everyone in. Give me 1 second. Again, if for everyone who is either today's day two or you guys attended last call, again, this is a live event. Feel free, you guys can turn on your cameras. Love to see those beautiful faces. My only ask is for those that are on the call, if you guys are able to mute the mics, that way we can just discourage any like other background noise for the live event and or uh,
hmm
there's some like echoing going on, or even just for the recording, just so we can keep the audio nice and clean. But it can just be 1 minute. I'm gonna let everyone in. Again, feel free. You guys can turn on the cameras and or mute the mics. And then again, we're gonna get started here in 1 to 2 minutes. For those of you that attended day one and or watched the replay of day one, let me know in the chat before we get started into day two. How was day one? Did you enjoy it? Was it eye-opening? For context, if anyone missed day one, again, day two, it really kind of stacks on day one. So we'll do a quick kind of recap of what we went over day one. But day one was mainly about the difference between a strategic product and apparel. A lot of people, when we learn about the opportunity of selling on Etsy or Etsy print on demand, we go to YouTube from YouTubers who found success with apparel, who teach apparel, and a lot of times we kind of start with apparel. And so the main kind of thing for day one was just because apparel was the product that we started with or heard of, it doesn't mean it's the only product. So we really kind of went over just the opportunity of
You could
strategic
just turn on.
and all of the other opportunities in terms of product type. All right. So yeah, let me know how you guys enjoyed day one. We're getting started maybe 1, 2 minutes. I'm gonna go through on my end and just mute a couple mics, let some more people in, and we'll go ahead and get started with day number two. Looks like a lot more people are joining. All right, fantastic. Kevin says, super interesting. The sea of apparel slides were eye-opening. Yeah, if you liked day one, day two is going to be that much more, hopefully, eye-opening. Essentially, the whole three-part training, again, for context, is it's over 3 days. We're giving a three-part process that's 3 years in the making of us building our successful Etsy business and just building out a standardized process and kind of
Sorry, I
keeping
can't
what
hear you.
works, removing what doesn't work, and really kind of creating that standardized process. So it's just this lean, mean, condensed of our process. Go through and mute a few more mics. But yeah, essentially, hopefully, again, that was eye-opening for day one. Again, there's gonna be a lot of those golden nuggets, eye-opening moments here in day two, and again, day three, it's like the big kind of eye-opening in terms of just like it doesn't have to be as complicated as it needs to be. In terms of us like building out this process and us growing our Etsy business, I had a full-time, job commitments, full-time family commitments, don't necessarily have, 40 hours a week to get dedicated to this business. So I was like, I need to make sure that every minute I'm sitting in front of this computer, it has the best ROI, return on investment for my time. And so we really kind of leaned out the process. And so again, just keeping what works and anything that doesn't work, taking it off the plate because it's already as complicated as it is. No need to make it more complicated. All right, so we got 90 of us on the call. I'm gonna go ahead and kick us off. And we can go ahead and dive in. Again, for anyone that just joined the call, feel free, you guys can turn on your cameras. Love to see those beautiful faces. This is a live event. The only ask is if we can mute the mics. That way, if there's any background noise or anything passing, we can just keep the audio distractions to a minimum. I'm just gonna mute a few more mics. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and we can go ahead and dive into day number two. Go ahead and click on to present. Let a few more people in. All right, fantastic. All right, guys, welcome to day number two of our Marketplace Success 3-day challenge, where again, what I want to do over the next 3 days. So that was yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Essentially, what we are doing is I want to build a roadmap, a framework from going from just starting out or where you're at in your business right now to that $1 million level. And so what we're doing is we're really breaking apart the three-part framework into a 3-day challenge where yesterday we went over day number one, part one on day one. We're going to have part two today, and we're going to go over part three tomorrow. And the main reason why, the whole purpose of this framework is, like I mentioned going into this call, is this was a framework that we built for our own business. It's a framework that we use to grow our own Etsy business from zero to $3 million in sales, 224,000 products sold. It was a framework that we really kind of standardized on our first product that we launched. And then we used this exact framework for our second product launch, our third, our fourth, our fifth. And every product that we launched did at least 6 to 7 figures, 100,000 to $1 million in revenue. So it quite literally worked flawlessly when we used it. And the reason why we're breaking it apart into 3 separate days is, and this is 3 years in the making. So it takes at least 3 days to give you guys all of these trainings. But the big reason why is the way that I teach is I don't want to just say to do something and have you guys take it at face value. But when I say like, this is why this is the strategy for part one, but really back it with like the high level strategy and the testing and the reasoning behind it. That way you guys, there's confidence in the strategy. And what I've found is when there's confidence in the strategy, it's a lot easier to trust the strategy and take action. So, there was kind of a belief shift on day one, like, oh, I don't have to do apparel. Why? Let me tell you why. On day two, we're going to go over another kind of belief shift of like, you don't have to do a specific thing, but really lean into the reasoning and the facts and the strategy why. And kind of that way, when everything comes together, you have a very firm and understanding of why we do this framework, the way we do this framework. So it's a very lean, mean approach to selling on Etsy. So again, today we're going to go over day two, part two. So for those of you who maybe missed day one, or again, day two, part two really builds off of day one. What we went over yesterday was part one of the framework. That was, again, for those of you that are taking notes, it's 4 to 6 strategic products. And so it's very specific to 4 to 6, and it's very specific to a strategic product. So yesterday, we went over that the reason why we need 4 to 6 products, not maybe just one like apparel or mugs, is we're trying to make $1 million. And so I've made $1 million with a single product twice. I made it with face masks one time, and I made it with dog collars one time. But could I replicate that again today? Or could I do that for every single product that I launch? Maybe, maybe not. So I kind of consider those like home runs or unicorn opportunities or, an outlier success story. So when you're building a framework, a process, or standardizing a system, it needs to be something that I can do over and over and over again. And anyone who can do this process, so like me sitting on this side of the screen, you sitting on that side of the screen, independent of skill sets coming into the challenge, are able to follow this framework. So the reason why we're doing 4 to 6 is we're going after base hits. We're not trying to hit the next home run, try to, swing for the fences. 4 base hits, you still get home. Home is the home run. That gets you to the $1 million level. And the big part here is you can launch 4 products and still make no revenue. So we're very intentional with the product selection, and that is the strategic product. These are products that sell well on Etsy, but that hit a kind of a criteria. Those were 5 questions that we ask ourselves that essentially justify whether a product is worth our time. It takes just as much time to launch a shirt as it does a mug, as it does a tumbler, but one might have less competition, one might be more successful than the other, one might have more opportunity for growth. And so how do we determine when to say yes and when to say no? Because I want to essentially put that criteria, that filter in right now, because I'm going to be the one putting in the next 2, 3, 4 months working out this product type. And so those 5 questions that we set, again, for those of you who are taking notes or maybe missed day one, to justify whether a product is maybe a non-strategic product or a strategic product is the product type in its entirety has the opportunity to make about 6 figures, $100,000 revenue per year on Etsy. And so these are us drawing the lines in the sand. So this is a standardizing the process. It's a yes or no question. Do I think I can make $100,000 with this product? Yes or no? If no, just take it off the plate. It's not worth my time because I can find another product in 5 minutes that will. So $100,000 per year revenue. Number 2 is, can I make at least $5 profit? I'd rather work on a product that makes more profit than another product that makes less profit. At the end of the day, how much money am I keeping in my pocket? So the line in the sand is $5, or for some cheaper products like a Christmas ornament, 25%. So that's the line in the sand of how much money I keep in my pocket after Etsy fees, after advertising, product cost, shipping. $5 is the rule of thumb. Can I personalize it? Yes or no? So Etsy is a marketplace where unique, personalizable gifts thrive. And so if you guys know me, I built a whole software company around personalization. I live and breathe personalization. We wouldn't launch a product unless we could personalize it. Etsy is just a marketplace where that thrives. For some products, it just doesn't make sense. Like you could personalize a doormat, but it'd be weird if you personalize a shower curtain, right? So can I personalize it? In most cases, you can. So if that's a yes, keep it. The next one is how many listings are required. Like when you found that opportunity and you clicked into the shop for the listing that you think you can make $100,000 revenue, $5 profit. Yes, they're personalized. Go look at that shop. How many listings do they have? Do they have 300 listings? Do they have 500 listings? Do they have 1,000 listings? And so I want to make sure that we're not going after products that require 1,000 listings. That's kind of where apparel fell off the map is the amount of listings you need today with apparel to make that $100,000 revenue. It's getting more and more and more, and it's only getting up because it's the most saturated product type with the most fastest increasing competition. Therefore, the amount of required work to get the same output is just getting more and more. So the goal is about 100 to about 150. And then lastly, is the competition high or low? Is this like a mainstream product like apparel and mugs? Or is this something that you're like a gift voucher? What's that? But yet there's someone that's killing it with a gift voucher. Those are strategic products. So it's very intentional at the product level. And again, product research is not hard. Most sellers just skip that step. They kind of default into apparel. We want to take one step back and be very selective in the product that we choose. And we're only going to need to launch 4 to 6. All right, so that's day 1 recap. We can now dive into essentially day number 2, which is why you guys are here today. One last thing on yesterday is at the end of the day yesterday, we went and we actually found our 4 to 6 products. We kind of ran a little bit out of time, and so we kind of shuffled around a little bit. But this was our list of our 4 to 6 strategic products. We had the picture board. This is one product that you can now get access to print on demand. One of my buddies is currently doing 20 to 25 sales a day. He's going to be his estimated revenue for this year. Again, revenue is $125,000. Again, that is a strategitic product. It hit the criteria. Dog collars. This is another product. My buddy, he's doing about 2,000 sales per day right now, or 2,000 sales per month. In 2025, he closed about $475,000 revenue. On average, about 20-25% profit. A strategic product. Other strategic products that are not, again, the t-shirts, the mugs, the tote bags, the blankets, the products that you typically think of when you think of Etsy print on demand. There's sun catchers, there's ring dishes, there's frosted candles. Yesterday, we took a quick peek at the gift vouchers. There's so many products that hit this criteria, and it takes a second to go look and find them. So this was we have 5 strategic products. The estimated yearly revenue breaks us over that $1 million. Again, there's no one product breaking $1 million. These are all what I would consider base hits. And when you start to do enough base hits, they quite literally stack on each other. The opportunity grows, and you're using the same process, the same framework for every single product. And so it only gets easier and easier on your second product, your third product. Success is not linear, it's exponential. And so this is the exact framework that we followed in our personal business. All right, so diving into day 2. Before I jump into today's training, I kind of want to get a gauge of where you guys are at coming into this call. So we're going over part 2, and the one thing I mentioned yesterday is us as like content creators, YouTubers, and we all kind of teach how we found success, and we all found success different ways. And so there's some people I hear on YouTube, they teach that you need to niche down. I hear that all the time. But I also hear some YouTubers teach, no, you need to go broad. You need to have a broad shop. So again, this is an example. Like on day 1, I mentioned like you might hear one YouTube video that says one thing and another YouTube video that just completely contradicts it. And which one's right? Which one should I do? Which one's right for my business today? So I'd love to hear, again, like let me know in the chat. I want to see kind of where you guys are at. You guys can say niche or broad. That way I can kind of gauge where you guys are at, and I'll kind of give you my forte or my thought on the matter. Because again, keep this in mind too. Niching down, you probably hear this all the time. It's a kind of a business general best practice. Niche down. The riches are in the niches. My personal company, I have a personalization automation company for Etsy print on demand sellers. It's like trying to explain that to someone at a Thanksgiving party or if you're at a gathering. It's like, what do you do? It's so niche, but yet that's where I find my success. So in general business, you can find success in niching down. But the one thing that I always have to make sure that in launching a company and making sure that I want to make sure this is transparent to you guys as well, is there's all these generalized best practices, but you got to make sure, like, does that make sense for me today? Does that make sense for my business model today? So we got to make sure, like for me, I have a software company. This is an Etsy print on demand company. So does it make sense for Etsy? All right, so I'm jumping over to the chat really quick. I just want to see where you guys are at really quick. It says niche, broad seems to confuse me, to confuse my customers. Okay, so someone says niche, Ellen says niche for me, and it works for me. Niche but broad, niche, but both having different departments like a physical shop. One says confused, no clue for me. Okay, so oh my gosh, so normally when I do this training, it's like 50-50. Some say broad, some say niche. It looks like everyone on this call, at least the people that commented, everyone says niche. So like I forget who said it. There's a kind of eye-opening on day 1. Then I'm about to open your guys' eyes because I practice and I teach the opposite, broad. And I want to tell you guys why. And I want to make sure that you guys don't just take my advice at face value. Like, oh, he found success. He says to do this, go do it. Why did I go this direction? And why do I think it worked so well for Etsy print on demand? Okay, so my training, part of the framework is to have a general shop to going broad. And so the reason why this works so much better for Etsy is, again, we got to keep in mind that our business model is Etsy print on demand. We're not selling on Shopify, or we're not doing a software company. We have a very specific model. And so what I found is there's actually three main reasons why I chose to go broad or having a general shop versus going niche. And so number one is we sell non-branded products. And so what I mean by that, the main reason why people say to niche down, like when you watch a YouTube video about business best practices and they say the riches are in the niches, why is that? And so the reasoning why people do niche down is because they need to have a customer, an ideal customer profile. Who am I talking to? And so for me, my ideal customer profile for my software is an Etsy print on demand seller. So that way, when I'm talking to you and I'm explaining your pain points better than you even know them yourself, it's like I understand my who, therefore my branding, my color, my verbiage, my messaging. I'm talking to a specific person. That's you guys, not necessarily Amazon sellers or Shopify or having a brick and mortar. I have a very specific who. Also for marketing, like using Facebook ads or YouTube ads or Google ads, when you have a very specific who, you're able to target them better with advertising, your messaging, email marketing. When you're marketing, you're talking to them. Again, you're talking to a specific person. Again, that's when you're having a brand and you have a messaging and you have a who. On Etsy, we're selling non-branded products. I'm not selling a shirt with my logo on it. This is Nike. That's all about sportswear, or Gymshark, or this is a golf shirt. I'm not, essentially we're not selling branded products. We're selling graphics on a blank product. So one is we're actually not going that route where we have to talk to a specific who. It goes actually one step further. Where not only are we not selling branded products, but we actually don't even have necessarily a brand. Like, yes, we have a shop name. Yes, my Etsy shop was made by Artly. That was my Etsy shop name that we sold on Etsy. But there's no brand recognition. There's no value there. When someone buys one of my dog collars and they say, "Oh, that's a great, cute dog collar. Where'd you get that?" They're going to say Etsy. They're not going to say made by Artly. No, so essentially in this case, this business model, Etsy's the brand. And this is actually in my personal opinion, a benefit. So what I mean by that is, for a first-time entrepreneur who is just getting started, by Etsy being the brand, it takes so much off the plate to get to the starting line. Like, we don't have to try to come up with a fancy name or a logo or color palettes or branding or a mission statement or qualifying who our ICP, our ideal customer profile, is. No, Etsy's that. Etsy's already built a marketplace with customers that trust Etsy enough to pull out their credit cards and give money. On Shopify, I don't even think I could build a Shopify website that doesn't look spammy enough to look spammy to, again, have someone give me money to buy my product. Etsy just gives you all that out of the box. And so, again, Etsy is, again, the brand. We are selling non-branded products. So that's where it kind of dequalifies a lot of the high level things in terms of like why people do niche down. But the main reason, and the big reason why I chose to not niche down, is here number three. And this is what, in my personal opinion, and those of you that are taking notes, one of the golden nuggets of today's training is the whole business model. We call it Etsy print on demand, but in my personal opinion, the whole business model, all we're trying to do at the end of the day is we're trying to build for search volume. So that's why this one's bolded. I saved it for last. Essentially the whole business model here, the whole name of the game, how we find success is we're trying to build for search volume. So what do I mean by that? Build for search volume. And so Etsy is an online marketplace. It's a search-based platform. So people go to Etsy with the intent to
When
buy.
he had given thanks, he break it and said, "Take ye."
Go ahead and mute a few more people. So people go to Etsy with the intent to buy something. It's a marketplace. It's a search-based marketplace. People go to Etsy and they search for what they want. And again, so Etsy right now, they get on average about 400 million searches per month. That's 400 million searches with the intent to buy something from a seller. And so what I hear, probably the most common example that I hear when someone says they want to niche down, I'm going to kind of play out like the scenario, is they say, "Hey, I'm wanting to start an Etsy print on demand business. I have a passion for pet. Pet is, it's a big category, pet. There's baby. It's one of the bigger categories on Etsy. I have a passion for my dogs. I'd love to start, a pet company, a pet print shop, a pet Etsy print on demand shop. What are your thoughts?" And so again, I've made a lot of money on pet. We sold pet collars, we sold, pet memorial boards. I've made a lot of money on pets. Pet's huge. It's probably one of the bigger categories on Etsy. And so, but when someone says that, and the reason why, this is kind of how I picture Etsy is, so essentially we're building for search volume. I think Pet Memorial gets like 75,000 searches per month. Dog collar gets a little bit more than that. So all these different search terms for all the different products that make up different products for pet. If we were to add up all of those together, the whole market of pet in terms of search volume, let's say it's let's say it's 4 million searches per month. 4 million people per month are going to Etsy to buy something for pet. Well, right out of the gate, we're limiting ourselves to 1% the opportunity. Etsy gets 400 million and we're capping ourselves to only 4. So when someone says, oh, I want to start an Etsy print on demand business and day one, limit myself to 1% the opportunity, it's like, man, no wonder I'm having a hard time finding success, or why am I not getting the traction, or why are other people scaling harder and faster than me? It's like you've day one, you've capped yourself to 1% of Etsy. And so when someone comes to Etsy, if this is you and you're niched down and they're looking for an engagement gift, there's no chance that you can get that customer. It's impossible to get that sale because you don't have engagement as your niche. If they're coming here looking for a new home warming gift, it's impossible for you to get that sale because you don't serve that niche. And so instead of being niched down, limiting yourself to potentially 1% or less of the opportunity of Etsy, that this is the main reason why I went and I teach to go broad, is because if you go broad, you can jump into all of the different niches. Now you're capturing the whole opportunity, 100% of Etsy, 400 million potential searches per month. Now, if someone searches for, that pregnancy gift, if you have a product and a design for that niche, you now have at least an opportunity to get the sale. If they're looking for, again, that birthday gift or that bridesmaid's gift, or even we're going into Mother's Day, that mom gift. As long as you have a product for that niche, and when someone goes to Etsy, 400 million people are, as long as you have a product for that search term, you have an opportunity to get the sale. And so again, that's what I view Etsy print on demand as, not being niche or trying to build a brand, or I view it as we're trying to build for search volume and try to have a wide net over that 400. And the more times that I can show up on these 400 than maybe the competition, those are more opportunities that I have to have customers find me, find my product, and buy my product. And it all just stacks up over time. So this is the main reason, my proof to why I believe for Etsy print on demand, going broad is better than going niche. If the business model was Shopify or something else, again, and maybe in that scenario, maybe niche makes more sense. But for Etsy, for a marketplace, for Etsy, Amazon as well, it's also a marketplace. Going broad, building for search volume, that's the business model, in my personal opinion, at the end of the day. All right, so 80-20 principle. So we essentially, someone gave the applause. Thank you so much. So the 80-20 principle. So let me know, are you guys familiar with this principle? It's essentially a principle that states, 20% of your work or effort will contribute to about 80% of the results. And this is one of those principles that the longer I've been in business and done different businesses, I see that this actually holds true. I mean, it's a principle for a reason, right? So my question to you guys, and again, let me know in the chat. I want to see what you guys think, is what do you think the 80-20 is for how many niches you should launch in on Etsy? So I just got done saying that there's 400 million searches on Etsy, and going broad is the business model. We're building for search volume. There's technically hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of niches and sub-niches. What's the number, right? We're trying to standardize this process. How many niches do I think I should launch into to be able to get the biggest bang for my time out of this opportunity at Etsy? All right, I see one person, they said 10 niches, question mark. I see 10. A few more coming, 10 to 15. 8, all right, fantastic. All right, so it sounds 2, 10, 25, all right, 20. All the niches. All right, love it. Okay, so essentially, I was hoping someone was gonna say 100. No. So we're gonna lean in a little bit. So yeah, the 80-20. So the question is again, 80-20 is about 20% of your efforts is gonna result to about 80% of your results. So at some point, you see diminishing returns. At some point, 80% of your efforts only gonna lead to about 20% of the results. So no matter what you're doing, there's gonna be diminishing returns on your efforts. And so what we found, again, over years of selling on Etsy at a very high level, multiple niches, multiple products, testing everything to be able to standardize this process. What we found is the 80-20, the point where you start to see diminishing returns on your time, was that you only need about 20 to 25 niches per strategic product. And so what we found is if you're below 20, there's still room for opportunity, there's room for growth. You can capture more of the niches and you can still go deeper and wider for that product. But what we found is when you go slightly above that 25, you start to create designs for smaller niches that have less search volume, therefore less customers, therefore less sales. And it takes just as much time to create a design for niche 1 as it does niche 50. And so because it takes just as much time, it's the same work, but for less reward. That's the 80-20. And so you start to get diminishing returns for your time at about 20 to 25. And so again, we wanted to have the most lean, most positive ROI, for my effort. When I'm sitting in front of this computer, I want to be making sure I'm working on productive work, not busy work. And if it makes more sense in terms of like moving the needle to jump into another product niche number 1 versus jumping into the same product niche number 26, it makes sense to jump into the next product niche number 1. So that kind of tipping point, it's kind of a balancing act. It floats around 20 to 25 niches per strategic product. This is the most leanest. We're trying to take a lot of the stuff off your guys' plate. I know a lot of people have job commitments, family commitments. We have only a finite amount of time that we can dedicate to this business model, but yet we're trying to build a business that can, make a difference in our life, make a difference in our family. And so same thing for you guys I don't want to make sure you guys aren't working for this business and seeing diminishing returns. At the point where you need to make the switch to the next niche or the next product, right around 20 to 25 niches. So this is actually part 2 of our 3-part frameworks. Now we're starting to open it up a little bit. It's for the 3-part framework. The 3-part framework from going from 0 to $1 million on Etsy is we need to have 4 to 6 strategic products. And for each strategic products, we need to make sure we go wide enough, for Etsy at least, wide enough that we're diving into at least 20 to 25 niches. And so again, this is the broad, we're going wide. And the beautiful thing about this is, again, when this is all built out, you have 4 to 6 products. They each go into 20 to 25 niches. We're building a wide net that's kind of spreading out across Etsy and capturing that search volume. And so the beautiful thing about this is I can say this full-heartedly, is when you go this route, we can have this wide net approach, but a very intentional, not spaghetti testing, very intentional wide net is you will find that you cover enough search volume that you start to get consistency, daily consistent sales. And we would average $2,000 to $3,000 per day out of holiday season because we covered enough niches on enough products to get enough spread on an average day for consistency. And so it actually takes a lot of the stress off your plate, a lot of the hustle off the table that like when you're going this route, you actually don't have to. I wrote, you don't need trends for daily consistent sales. And so right now, like I mentioned yesterday, a lot of people, they start with apparel. And again, apparel is the most saturated product type, has the most fastest incoming competition every single day. And for someone who is maybe a first-time entrepreneur, they're just getting started on Etsy, maybe not a graphic designer or too tech savvy, it's not the best product. So those are why trend reports and the next best trend, like this trend is exploding on Etsy, like those YouTube videos, they get the most views. And it makes sense because everyone's trying to get ahead of the competition. And so we said we can go around the competition with strategic products. Same thing is you don't have to be lured with all these trends and next best thing. And I need to go update all my designs to add this new texture effect. When you have enough spread, you don't have to chase the trends. If we're going into a holiday season or there's a Super Bowl for those one-off designs, we're building a business here for consistency. You don't have to chase trends to get sales when you go this route. I've never once chased a trend, and we grew a business to one of the top in the world for Etsy. So essentially one thing here too. So then the next question is, okay, I need to go from 1, maybe I need to niche down the whole idea of like, man, I gotta go from 1 to 25. I go, how am I going to do that? Or a lot of you guys thought 10, man, from 10 to 25, how am I going to find, 25 niches to design for? So this is probably golden nugget number 2 in today's training is, so again, we launched this framework for product after product after product after product, 20 to 25 niches for every single product. So we did the product research every single time. We did the market research every single time. And what we found was that we're like, man, there's a lot of overlap with the niches. Like this niche right here, we have this niche for this product, this product, this product, and this product. And so there's a lot of overlap. And so what we found after going through this iteration, 5 or 6 times, I kind of like categorize the niches that do well for, at least for Etsy, for print products, for the different seasonalities of our business model, that there's only like 3 different categories. And so now we're taking the whole thing of like 400 million search terms, putting that to 25 niches to putting that into 3 categories. I'm trying to simplify, distill this framework for you guys. And so there's only really 3 categories that come to mind that I want you guys to build designs for. And so those three categories are, number one, it is evergreen events. And so these are the niches that I would categorize as an evergreen event. These are events that trigger a buying behavior. So for example, engagement. Engagement is an event that happens every single day. Somewhere in the United States of America, someone got engaged yesterday. Someone in America is going to get engaged today. That is a life event that triggers a buying behavior to the friends and family of that couple that got engaged. Engagement is relevant. They're going to marketplaces like Etsy to go buy an engagement gift. That was an event that triggered a buying behavior. There's weddings, wedding gifts, there's anniversaries, birthdays, graduations. These are events that different people are happening every single day. We're not waiting for a Mother's Day, it's happening on a Tuesday, that trigger a buying behavior. And so we want to make sure we have enough of these. That way we have a nice spread, and these are evergreen sales. So we had evergreen events as number one. Number two, these are recipients. And so a lot of times when people go to buy something, again, people go to Etsy typically to buy a gift for someone else. We typically think in terms of the recipient and not the product. And so, for example, we are going into a Mother's Day rush right now. I don't think of tumbler or candle. When I think of Mother's Day, I think of mom and grandma. My wife, for example. We think in terms of the recipients. I'm looking to buy a gift for my mom for Mother's Day, not Tumblr. So a lot of times the recipients it's just the people that they're buying the gifts for. That's the moms, the dads, that's the teachers, that's the nurses, that's the realtor, that's the dog, the baby, that's the person you're buying the gift for. We think in terms of the recipients. And so these are a niche as well. And number three, this is the gravy on top. This is where all the money's made. It's the holidays, So these are the Halloweens, the Thanksgivings, the Christmases. We sold for 3 years, and so 3 different times we went through a Q4 season, and I can say with complete transparency that we did about 50 to maybe 70% of our total yearly revenue in Q4. That's taking into account Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. We made more money in those holidays than Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3. And so mainly also because we sell giftable products, personalized products, and those tend to thrive during a Christmas rush. But you want to make sure that no matter what products you are selling, you got to make some of those 25 niches: Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, and things like that. That easily eats up, at least five of your 20 niches to go create your list of. So to give you guys a couple examples, again, I wanted to make sure that you guys have a very clear understanding of what these 3 niche categories are. And I'm gonna give you guys some examples of some evergreen events, some examples of some recipients, and some examples of some holidays. So on this one screen, if you guys take a screenshot, I would say of the 224,000 orders that we've had over the 5 to 6 strategic products over the 3 years that we sold on Etsy, I would say maybe 90% of our sales fell within these niches. So this is pretty much Etsy, all of Etsy for the product types that we're looking for, strategic products, falls within these niches, and everything else are those little small ones that, yes, there are sales there, but it's not worth the time compared to these bigger niches on the screen right here. So the evergreen events, these are the life events. There's couples when people get together. As life goes on, so it's almost like this is someone's just life cycle, right? So there's a couple. Then they get engaged, and they get married, then they have anniversaries, then she gets pregnant, then they have a baby, then there's the promoted to, that's the moms get promoted to grandmas, the brothers to the uncles. So when someone has a baby, everyone gets promoted to the next thing. People get baptized, then their house gets bigger, so they got to move from their apartment to a home. So then there's the new home, and then there's memorial. So these are all life events, and then there's even more, like graduations and birthdays and things like that in between. But these were, I would say, the big 10 to 12 that really moved the needle, that I made sure when I found the next strategic product, I have to at least have these niches as one of my 20 to 25. Next, for the recipients, these are just the people that we're buying the gifts for. There's the moms, the dads, the grandmas, the grandpas, the brothers, the sisters. This is essentially like the family tree. Then you have the pets, again, pet products, cats, dogs, friends, like best friends, if you're moving and things like that. Then there's the godparents. Right now, we're going into a teacher appreciation, a nurse appreciation. There's realtors. So again, who are you buying that gift for? And sometimes you can even layer these two things together. That's kind of where some power happens. Like we had, pet memorial. That was a big product for us. Promoted to grandma and grandpa, things like that. So you can kind of layer these in a little bit with each other. But for the recipients, I would say these are the big top 10 to 12. And the holiday, this is just, you pull up a calendar, look at the holiday seasons. And these are the New Year's, the Valentine's Days, all the way, again, Mother's Day right now, Father's Day, all the way down to, again, the big three, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. So just making sure you have designs for this, because it really comes down to relevancy also. Like we're going into a Mother's Day season, Mother's Day is relevant, just like how if someone got engaged, engagement's relevant. So to everyone right now, Mother's Day is relevant. And so we're going and we're buying Mother's Day designs. When we're getting closer to October, what's relevant? Halloween's relevant. We're going to Etsy, we're buying Halloween gifts, products. So when something's relevant, that's when we're going to Etsy to go buy products for that. And again, if you have a product for that niche, you have an opportunity to get a sale. And so out of all of this is quite literally one screenshot that accounted to over 220,000 orders on Etsy. If you limited yourself to just pet, you're missing out on everything else. And so that's why we don't niche down, or I don't teach to niche down. I teach to go broad because we're building for search volume. And so to go one step further, and for the people who are like, man, I still can't think of 20 to 25 niches. This is probably golden nugget number 3 for today's training. This was actually kind of, I would say, almost like a growth hack that we just kind of fell into in running our businesses. And I think it was our 3rd strategic product that we launched. And this is that you can dive into more search volume by going into sub niches. And so to kind of walk you through what that looked like is, so this is a personal case study. This is my true sales with my personal product. And so this was one of the strategic products that we sold. It was the picture board. One of the better niches that we sold in was the pet memorial. That was what I was referring to. Pet memorial, again, we're building for search volume. The search volume, at least at the time of me creating the slide, was 66,800 searches per month. So almost 67,000 people per month are going to Etsy and they're searching pet memorial and they're buying a product that's relevant to that search term. And so our total sales for this product was we sold 3,851 units. And so in those almost 4,000 units sold, I noticed that as orders were coming into our warehouse through our shop, we're showing a picture of a dog on this, and we're using pet memorial, but the picture is a dog. I was like, man, like every 10th order, it's like a cat. And I was like, man, there's a lot of orders that are coming in for cats, and they're buying a pet memorial, but they're putting a cat's name and they're wanting a cat's photo there. And so I remember just thinking to myself, like, man, are we leaving money on the table by having the picture be a dog? Because if I'm looking for a cat memorial, like my cat just passed away, I'm looking for a pet memorial and I see a picture of a dog, would I be looking for a picture of a cat? I didn't know. So I spent 5 minutes, again, only 5 minutes. I just made a copy of this listing. And so it's the same design, it's the same title, or it's the same design, it's the same everything. But all I did is I changed the photo to a cat. And I changed the title on the listing from pet memorial to cat memorial. That way now we can show up and rank for if someone's searching for cat memorial. Because that was another thing, is we never had cat in our SEO, our titles, our tags. So we didn't rank for cat memorial. So all I did was, you can see it's the exact same design. All we did was change it from pet memorial in our SEO to cat memorial in our SEO and change the picture from a dog to a cat. It took me 5 minutes to do. Cat memorial, it gets searched 13,400 times per month on Etsy. And that gave us an additional, if you can see right here at the bottom middle, 633 units sold. That listing got ranked for cat memorial. People were buying it every single day. Took me 5 minutes to do. So this was like an aha moment. I was like, man, we just made an extra $10,000 revenue for 5 minutes of time. And so I remember I went over to my team, the people who were printing out these products. I said to them, hey, if you're seeing a lot of any other animals, gerbils, hamsters, lizards, whatever it is, if you see any other animals coming through that's consistent, let me know. I'll spend 5 minutes. I'll make a copy of that listing and we'll get ranked for that listing as well. And so, sure enough, a week later, they came back and they said, hey, we're getting a lot of orders for horses. And so I was like, all right, give me 5 minutes. I went back to my office, 5 minutes, did the exact same thing. I made a duplicate of the listing, changed cat to horse, changed a picture from a cat to a horse. It's the exact same listing. It took me 5 minutes to do. Horse memorial gets searched, again, it's a smaller niche, 2,500 times per month on Etsy. We sold 309 units for this product type. So where I'm trying to get to in terms of the strategy here is diving into sub niches. If you see, our main niche was pet memorial. Pet memorial gets searched 66,000 times per month. The increase that we got in terms of search volume by adding the cat memorial and the horse memorial, we have the 20% plus the 3.7%. We gave ourselves about an additional 24% in search volume. If you look at the amount of sales on top of that, we got 16 plus 8, 24%. So I was like, it was quite literally directly related. The increase that we gave ourselves in search volume was the increase that we gave ourselves in sales, 20% growth for 10 minutes of my time. I think this was the easiest. It was like $15,000 or $20,000 in sales for 10 minutes of my time. So this was kind of one of those growth hacks that we added to our as a part of our standardized process when we're trying to choose our 20 to 25 niches. And so, but again, there's at some point there's diminishing returns. Like at this point, there's only 2,500 searches. We only sold 300 units. Where do we draw that line in the sand? It needs to be a standardized process that anyone can implement, follow. At what point do I see there to be diminishing returns for my time invested? And so that line in the sand, for anyone who wants to go into the sub niches, for those that are taking the notes, is that line in the sand is you only launch into a sub niche. You mute someone really quick. We only dive into a sub niche if the search volume for that sub niche is at least 5% of the search volume of the main niche. So 5%, that's the line in the sand. And so what I mean by that, I'll give you guys a couple examples because we're going into, Mother's Day, we're going into teacher appreciation. So this is probably really top of mind for you guys. So one of the niches that is really big for Mother's Day is grandma. Grandma at the time, it's probably a lot more right now because we're in the thick of the rush, but 136,000 people per month are searching for grandma gifts on Etsy. And so grandma is the niche, but not everyone calls their grandma. For example, my kids call my mother-in-law, my wife's mom, Nina. And so when I'm a customer and I'm going to Etsy and I'm searching for what I'm looking for, I don't search for grandma gifts. I search for Nina gifts. She's Nina. She's not grandma. And so by limiting yourself to just grandma, we're leaving all of the other potential search volume on the table. And so what a sub niche for grandma may be is all the different combinations of what people call their grandma. There's Nana, there's Nanny, there's Mimi, Gigi, Granny. 31,000 people per month are searching for a Nana gift. I've never even heard of Nana, but 31,000 people are. That's 23% on top of that. So imagine if you take your design that you already created for grandma, you already put in all that effort for grandma, and all you're doing is changing the word in your design from grandma to Nana, and your SEO, your title from grandma to Nana. 5 minutes of your time, you increase your potential by 23%. The biggest ROI for your time. That is time that is productive, not busy. Then you change it from Nana to Nanny. You added another 17%. Mimi, Gigi, Grandma. By adding up all of these above, you almost doubled your potential for maybe 40 minutes of work. So this is where you can take one niche that's proven, dive into the sub niches. Another example is nurse. So there's Nurse Appreciation Week that we're going into. People, a lot more right now as we're getting into the actual Nurse Appreciation Week, but on an average month, almost 40,000 people are going to Etsy looking for a nurse gift. It's a big niche on Etsy. This one should be one of the recipients that makes your list for most of your strategic products. There's so many different practices of a nurse that someone might actually be going to Etsy looking for a nurse practitioner gift. And so if you're only having a nurse versus a nurse practitioner, you're limited. There's another 12% there. Midwife. So if someone's trying to get a gift for their midwife, they're going to Etsy and they're searching for midwife gift, not nurse gift. That's another 11%. There's registered nurse, there's ER nurse, there's pediatric nurse. But again, the line in the sand is 5%. And so even though at the very bottom, you can see the licensed practical nurse, gets 1,800 searches per month, that's only 4.6%. 1,800 is only 4.6% of 3,800. It's not quite enough. There'd be diminishing returns. That time spent there would better be spent launching the next sub niche or the next niche for that product, if that makes sense. So that's the line in the sand. But again, this doesn't always work. And so I'll give you another quick example. Teacher. In a Teacher Appreciation Week, teacher's a big niche. There's a lot of potential sub niches with teacher. There's the subjects, there's the grade. You feel like you can go super granular, but is there search volume? The whole point of today is, again, the whole business model, Etsy Print On Demand, we're trying to build for search volume. So that's like, is there search volume behind it? If no, it's not worth the time because we're trying to build for search volume. So some potential sub niches for teacher might be the subjects, math teacher, history teacher, English teacher. But when you actually go look up how many people per month on an average month are looking for a math teacher gift or an art teacher gift, it's just the search volume is not there. Only 392 people per month is trying to buy a gift for their PE teacher. the time spent creating that design, it takes just as much time as launching a sub niche for another niche, or just starting the process for the next niche. And so none of the subjects as a sub niche just hit that 5%. So I wouldn't recommend going into the actual categories as their own individual standalone listings. And so then you might be thinking, well, what about the grade levels? There's first grade teachers, there's sixth grade teachers. Like, certainly people got to be looking for an eighth grade teacher gift. So that was the next idea: is are people looking for the grades? Only three people per month on Etsy are looking for a sixth grade teacher gift. And so again, none of these quite hit that 5%. So yes, sub niches is great for grandma. It's great for nurse. It doesn't quite work for teacher. So in this scenario, teacher would just be its own listing for teacher. Yes, you might have some design variations that are the subjects, or that might be something that they can personalize, but it's not, you're not trying to optimize an entire listing, the SEO and the design around it, because no one's directly necessarily searching for that. And so this is an example of when to do it and when necessarily not to do it. And so again, just a quick recap for day 2 is the whole business model, hopefully the whole understanding for going into day 2. If you got one thing out of today is, again, do we niche down or do we not niche down? Or again, what do we do? What's the whole backbone behind Etsy Print on Demand? The whole strategy, in my personal opinion, how we were able to drive so much success is because we really leaned into the core thing that drove this vehicle, and that was search volume. We're building for search volume. And if we can lean into that more directly, then people who are going to be leaning into the niche or the product or the design, but we're trying to build for search volume, we might be able to lean into bigger markets, bigger pools, bigger opportunities. And so we're building for search volume. That's the whole business model. And again, at some point, there's diminishing returns. So you can build for search volume to the end of you. And you can dive into all those sub niches to a point where there's diminishing returns. So you got to draw that line in the sand. I want to make sure that every minute that you guys spend in front of your computer, it's worth it. That's time away from your job. That's time away from your family. That's time away from sleep. Every minute in front of your computer should have a positive ROI towards your business that we're building towards. That tipping point, that balancing act, is about 20 to 25 niches per strategic product. And again, it doesn't have to be complicated. 25 might sound complicated. All 25, you can find those into 3 of these niche categories. Evergreen events, these are events that trigger a buying behavior, engagement. Wedding, anniversaries, or events that happen in someone's life, to them, the friends, the family, that's relevant. They go to Etsy to buy a gift. There's recipients. We typically think in terms of the person we're buying for. We don't think Tumblr. We think mom for Mother's Day, teacher for teacher appreciation, the nurse for nurse appreciation, not necessarily the mug that they're going to buy for them. And then holidays. This is just the gravy on top. The Q4 season, that's the name of the game. We quite literally spent Q1 through Q3 building for Q4. All the profit came in the holiday season. And then one little growth hack that we kind of fell into was that you can increase your search volume. You can get to your 20, 25 niches that much faster by diving into sub niches if the search volume is at least that 5% of the main. So again, we kind of flew through today's training. Again, I apologize for anyone who thinks I talk too fast. But again, part 2 of our 3-part framework is it slowly coming together. Again, on day 1, we went over part 1. That's the strategic products. We need 4 to 6 strategic products. Again, we're not going after any home runs. We're not banking on an opportunity, an outlier success that Steven had with one product type. We're going after the base hits. This is something that you can implement today, that I can start tomorrow, that anyone on this call can follow and see and can find results to get to this end result right here. 4 base hits still gets you the home plate. You get to that home run. That home run's that $1 million. And then again, the whole business model, Etsy Print on Demand, is we're trying to build for search volume. That 80-20 principle for the amount of niches is about 20 to 25 niches. And then on day 3, we're going to go over part 3 of the 3-part framework. And that's really when everything just clicks. It's like you're going to do this many products, this many niches per product, this many this per niche. And it just turns into like, this is quite literally the formula to be able to quite literally go from 0 to the level I'm trying to go to, as lean, as mean, as fast, and as little waste as possible. Again, this was 3 years in the making of fine-tuning, condensing, keeping what works, removing what doesn't work. The business model is already as complicated enough. If I don't need it, I don't want to do it. But we only kept what we had to do because we're still trying to build a real business here. And so hopefully tomorrow, when you guys join tomorrow, everything comes together. And this is the path. This is the formula. This is the strategy. This is how I found success on Etsy, which is what I'm teaching you guys in this challenge. And so again, that is today. like I mentioned yesterday, and for every day we have in this challenge, is that the one beautiful thing about this being live is you guys have access to me. And so again, I want to make sure that I want to be available to you guys to answer any questions that you might have, whether you have questions from day one, if you have questions from day two. That way, again, because day two stacked on day one, day three is going to stack on day two. I want to make sure that you guys have a very good understanding of this. If there's any sticking points or things that just didn't make sense, I want to get those questions answered, that we have a clear slate, a full understanding with confidence before I throw day three at you guys. And so feel free. You guys can, again, turn on your cameras. You guys can turn on your mics. You guys can ask the questions live. You guys can raise your hand and I'll pull you on screen and or drop it in the chat and I can take it over there. But it looks like Norma, we'll go ahead and pitch it to you first. And if you are talking, you are muted, Norma. All right, I'm gonna give you a second to see if you dropped in the chat and or if the mic's not working. In the meantime, I'll jump down to Pamela. How's it going?
Hello. That was very good. Everybody right? Right? Very good. Always. It's amazing your best practices for us. Question for you. Unfortunately, I wasn't here yesterday. And did you look at tumblers? Would you not include tumblers on that list?
Yeah, so tumblers is still a strategic product. So again, to determine if a product is strategic, yes or no, it's a 5-question filter that you give yourself, and it's so worth it. It takes 2 minutes to ask yourself 5 questions to justify if the next 2 to 4 months is going to be worth my time. And so with 40-ounce tumblers or 20-ounce tumblers, can you make $100,000 with that product type today on Etsy? Yes. Can you make $5 profit with 40-ounce tumblers today on Etsy? Yes. Can you personalize tumblers? Yes. How many listings do I need? Do I need 1,000 or maybe 100 or a couple hundred? You don't need 1,000 listings. And then is it saturated? Is it overly saturated? I don't think we're there yet. So the answer is no there. So again, the lines that we draw in the sand, tumblers would still be considered a strategic product. Tumblers is still a product that you can add to your list. And so that the whole point of day one too is you don't just pick one and then run with it. Is you go find like 4 to 6 or maybe even 10 and you stack them against each other. And then you pick which out of these 10 is the best opportunity, which one has the most revenue potential, which one has the most profit potential, which one has the most under optimized market. Like everyone there is just not doing all the strategies that I know to do. That this is out of all 10 of these, this one's the best opportunity. That's the one I'm going to start with, spend the next 2 to 4 months building out. And then after I'm done building that product to its full in its entirety, then go through that process one more time, re-update your numbers, see if those are still strategic today like they were then, and then pick one and launch that one as your next one. So yes, 40-ounce tumblers is still strategic, but then the question is if you stack that, what's a 40-ounce tumbler compared to an 8-ounce frosted candle compared to the gift voucher that we were talking about? One might at a different time of the year make more sense for different people.
Yeah, I have looked at those gift things and I'm going to continue. I just got back from a trip, but fabulous idea. My question was, I'm not quite understanding your math. The math ain't mathing for me, and I'm good with math. So let's say ornaments is the product type. Mm-hmm. And you're saying 20, 25 niches. Let's say 25 niches. And would that mean that I'm only going to have really basically 25 listings for ornaments?
Yeah, so this will make more sense tomorrow. So you come tomorrow, Pamela. So essentially for each niche, we're going to create X amount of designs and X amount of listings. And so you're gonna position yourself into 25 market opportunities, but not with just one design. I don't want to give away tomorrow's.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay,
you will have more than 25 listings per product.
Because I'm thinking like the list that you guys, we've learned about. It's like 150 different people you could write it to. It just. I like your 5%. I didn't hear that before, but the idea of 25 seems small to me, where I could probably do 100 between all those events and everything, blah blah blah.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. So like one is like HTTP, for example. It's just I'm referring to Pamela because she knows what I'm referring to. It's a high potential product list from Inner Circle Prints, but he gives you guys a list and he gives you like all the different people that you can refer to. And it's actually saying like 150 people, but some people would make sense for this product. Some people would make sense for that product. Not every person every single time, because he just kind of pulled a list maybe from AI. Like, here's everyone.
Probably.
But again, that's not the business model. Is that's when you can create designs for all 150 and just splat them all over Etsy. But again, at some point, it took just as much time to duplicate that listing, change this.
Yeah.
When you could have done that for a different sub niche or a different
Well,
listing.
that's why you said the 5%. I'd never heard
That's-
that going,
that's the
oh,
line in
that's
the
so
sand.
easy to have a math thing going, okay, yes. Oh, sorry, you didn't make the cut, uncle.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing.
100%. Like an uncle
Yeah.
for you on Tumblr, maybe there's no demand for that, but for a mom and a
Interesting.
grandma and a teacher and a nurse,
Okay.
yes. So it depends on the product and depends on again, the number one thing for today is we're building for search volume. Like if that's
Yeah.
the one thing you guys got from today, and that's one thing that you want to build towards is there demand, is there search volume? That's Etsy print on demand.
Fascinating. Thank you, Stephen.
Of course. All right, I'm gonna see if Norma's got her mic working. We'll jump to her first, and if not, we'll jump down to Michael. All right, Michael, you can go ahead and kick us off.
Hey, yeah, that was all really good. I've
Thank you.
I've been doing this for 2 years and I'm very unsuccessful. I've got about 91 sales. I went way out and tried to pick every niche, and then I kind of dialed it back, and then I went out again and dialed it back again because there's varying information from everybody on YouTube. Niche
Yes.
down, don't niche down. Niche down, don't niche down.
Yes.
But so I don't want to niche down. I named my store the Holidays Market on purpose. When I first
Yes.
started, my plan was to hit all the holidays and all the special events and everything. My question is, do you have multiple stores, or how do you organize it on one Etsy store so it doesn't look like a flea market?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So that's like the one thing hopefully people get out of this training is here's a process. There's you can go find 100 different processes, but here's mine. Here's how I found success. Everyone teaches how they found success, and I want to make sure I give it to you very clean and direct, and give you guys the proof to the why it's this way. That way, there's just complete certainty. That way, because like you said, you niched down and then you didn't niche down, and you said it's for you to be able to go from this way to this way. It's because you wasn't convinced that this was the way. So I want to make sure, like when I said this is the way, you don't just take it at face value and make a switch, and then if it doesn't work, it's you make the switch and you're like, but I know for a fact I'm doing it this way because this, and this. I'm certain, I'm confident that this is not the way for Etsy print on demand for how I'm trying to build this. And so that's why I'm spending a whole hour on just saying, don't niche down, because I could just say that, but I spent the last 60 minutes trying to explain the reasoning why for Etsy print on demand, the way it's locked and you guys have a really firm understanding. So essentially the way that we did it in our Etsy shop is so we went broad, so 4 to 6 products, 20 to 25 niches each. And so we essentially wasn't a niche or a product specific store. And I mentioned at the end of Q&A yesterday that there's benefits to it. And I'll tell you and also how we made it not feel like a flea market. So some of the benefits of why we originally did it before we created our designs and launched and evolved it to what it was. But the core reason why is one thing that's unique about Etsy is when it shows a listing, it shows all of your shop reviews on every single listing. That's unique on Etsy, different from Amazon. If you go to Amazon, if a seller has 5 products, this one might have 0 reviews, 10 reviews, 1 review. When you go to that listing, it shows 0, 10, 1. So they give you reviews on the individual product. But on Etsy, if you've been selling Etsy for 2 years and you have, say, 100 reviews, the product that you launch tomorrow, it has 0 sales, but it's still going to show 100 reviews next to it. And so that's kind of the beautiful thing about Etsy. And that's why success on Etsy isn't linear, it's exponential, is because when you launch your second product, you're able to leverage all your social proof, all your reviews, all the people who favorite it, who's getting notified that you launched something new, all your repeat customers that come back. We had 6% of people be repeat customers. They're coming back to that same shop, not your new shop. That essentially, when you launch your second your product type, you're launching that with maybe 100 reviews, not 0. When you launch your third product type, you're launching that with 1,000 reviews, not 100, not 0. So when we launched dog collars, that was one of our product types. There was one seller that was just killing it. He was doing like 2.5 times more sales than the second best dog collar. There was like a huge delta, and like he was just like the number 1 on Etsy. And so when I launched dog collars, we did it in-house. So it was my very first listing went live. At that time, I didn't know how to use our sewing machine. I was breaking needles. It was my first dog collar, but when I launched that listing, it had 13,000 reviews next to that listing. So immediately social proof. I think he had like 9,000 reviews. So our listings were side by side, 13,000 reviews, 9,000 reviews. And there was a handful of other things that we did that he wasn't doing that helped us get more traction. But we passed him up in sales in 3 weeks. We became number one within 3 weeks. And I don't think we would have been able to do that if we didn't have that social proof. So that's one reason why we put it all in one store, is it's because we can piggyback off of our previous success. Like you have a holiday season, so you're gonna have a really good Q4. You're gonna get a bunch of reviews. You're able to piggyback off of those reviews for the next listings that you launch. The way that we were able to make it seem coherent and not like a flea market is we weren't just throwing everything out there. Like again, we're only launching. Again, this will make more sense tomorrow. Is we're not launching thousands of designs. We're only launching 4 to 6 products that are each going to have 1 to maybe 150 listings. So total, it's only going to have about 1,000 listings broken apart of a handful of niches and a handful of products. And someone who sees your dog collar and says, man, that's a cute dog collar, should also like your ornament, should also like your picture frame. So if your design attributes are all over the place, or you have political designs and goth designs and soccer mom designs, and you're just anything and everything, that's where it can feel a little like, man, it's like the person who lands on that page is like, they like some of your designs and they don't like some of your designs. And so we kind of had some filters up for our shop. Is like, we chose to launch no political designs because then they could be one or the other. And we wanted all of our designs to be kind of wholesome, cute soccer mom. So all of the kind of crude and goth and that crude humor. Yes, there's a ton of money in those niches. Maybe we left a lot of money on the table, but that we left those, we didn't launch those. That way that someone who comes to our shop, it feels like it was designed by the same seller for the same customer.
Thank you. Definitely appreciate you and your experience. I've been watching you for years. And I have a Hello custom account already. So
appreciate it, man. Yeah, tomorrow it'll make more sense. I'm slowly opening the doors of the framework, and then tomorrow is when everything kind of just ties in to the process.
Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you. I'm gonna jump down to Kelly. If you're muted,
Hey, sorry.
There you go. You're good.
My question is, I was watching yesterday, and you had said something about the purchase vouchers.
Yes.
And so I was wondering, I don't know if that's anywhere, like a print on demand thing. Let me turn off this. Or if it was something that you or they were physically doing out of their house in I think you said Canada, I can't remember.
Yeah, so that was and for context for everyone else who maybe didn't watch yesterday, we went over and we found a handful of strategic products. Like we showed like the picture boards and the dog collars, and there's the sun catchers. And so just one of the strategic products that can make the list is a product type. And I'll show you guys really quick too, because I think yesterday, and I know for a fact there's probably people on today's call that wasn't on yesterday's call. And so I'll just pull up Etsy real quick. I'll share my screen so you guys can have the context here. And Etsy was being weird for us yesterday.
I remember.
We'll see if it's working any better today. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. So again, this is just one product, but this is the one that she's referring to. Is this prototype right here? If I click onto this store, so this is why I love Etsy. Is when everyone says, "Oh, Etsy's dead, print on demand's dead." I think print on demand apparel is dead, but like again, this shop right here, they launched a year and a half ago, and they've done 346,000 sales. They probably made $500,000 to $700,000 profit in Christmas rush just 6 months ago. It's like, I think I'm in the wrong business with Holocaust. Like, that's crazy, the opportunity that they were able to do with this. And so, yes, they have a crazy amount of listings. They just went super wide, but that doesn't mean that this isn't a good opportunity, because they have all these other product types. But the ones that really was like the one that like caught my eye, they got me super excited. If I go over to, I'm just using Everbee really quick. Let's see really quick. Let me refresh this to pull up the shop analyzer. Not going full screen. Looks like it disappeared on me. Anyways, essentially the one that was doing all the volume is essentially their scratch gift voucher. So this is a super unique product, a gift voucher. And again, a gift voucher, like what's that? Never heard of it. Again, no one's talking about it, but yet this company sold like probably 150,000 of these in Christmas. And so it's just a voucher. But the one thing that makes it super cool is it's not just a gift voucher, but it's like a scratch off. And so they're putting a scratch off sticker on top of it. So you can personalize like happy birthday, Steven. Tomorrow you're going to XYZ concert. I could scratch it off, and it makes it a fun experience. And where the opportunity grows is they blew up for I don't know why everybody's not loading, but they blew up for their demand curve was huge for December, which means this is all for the Christmas rush. But like a gift voucher could be used for Valentine's Day, engagement gifts, wedding gifts. It could be used for graduation gifts, birthday gifts, all the different things that for just like a gift giving occasion in general. You would be able to use this to kind of normalize sales throughout the year. So what I was saying yesterday was like, this is probably going to be the new Christmas ornament. Like, Christmas ornaments was like the crazy Q4 opportunity for like the last 5 years. Why I think this one's going to just trump ornaments this year is this shop did almost 350,000 sales in 1.5 years. And there's a lot of things that they're not doing that we did that helped us find success. A lot of those were the same things that dog collar seller, like I was saying, like he was like 2.5 times better than the second best. We launched our shop and we passed him up in 2 weeks. And it's because the things that we found as like conversion boosters, like having a badge on the thumbnail that helps stop the scroll, that's an attention grabber. They don't have that. Things like having a low display price, that way it looks a little bit cheaper to get the click. They don't have that. A daily flash sale, so there's like a 50% off and a countdown timer that creates FOMO, gets the click, and it helps the conversion rate. They don't have that. Fast lead times, like we would say, like ships fast. They want the product shipped and made within 1 to 3 days. The big thing here is they're coming from the United Kingdom, so I'm not going to receive it for 3 weeks from now versus 3 days from now. So long lead times, and maybe they saw my video because yesterday it was $10.50, so they dropped it down to $6.73. But essentially,
yeah, they did bring it down, didn't they? I looked at that, going, "Oh, look at that, Steven."
Yeah. Sometimes I'll do a video and then Etsy will change their terms of service like a week later. I'm like, they're watching my videos, but essentially, they're charging it like they were charging $11 for shipping. The other company that sells this product, there's only 2 sellers. Again, this is why it's a big opportunity, is first movers advantage. There's 2 sellers that are killing it with this product on Etsy, and they are both in the United Kingdom. The other one is like 3 years old and it has like 100,000, 150,000 sales. It's still amazing, but they were charging $20 for shipping. And that's why I think this one passed them up so fast, is because they were only charging $10 for shipping. But this is a piece of paper in an envelope that requires a stamp for 50 cents. And so essentially tomorrow, you'll be able to hear some of an opportunity, a direction we're going with Holo Custom specifically, that kind of opens the door for things like this. And so I don't want to spoil it tomorrow. Again, all of that to kind of paint the opportunity. Again, this is just one strategic product, but again, I see opportunities like this pop up all the time. But this is when I see this one, it gives me deja vu of like what I saw when I saw Christmas ornaments in 2021, why I launched ornaments. When I saw dog collars in 2023, why I launched dog collars. When I saw the picture boards, like I see something this good maybe once a year. So this would be 100% one. This would be like one of my 6, like fact guaranteed. I'd be nipping at the bit to launch this for Christmas. So essentially, yeah, 100%. Keep an eye on this shop, on this product, and then if that interests you, make sure you guys come to day 3 tomorrow. That'll make more sense.
And so you might be opening this up over there at HC headquarters.
Yeah, you have more context because you're in our group coaching. But I'll spill some more things tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly. All right, let me jump over to the chat really quick. There's 47 new messages. Let me see really quick. It says, Kim says, do you schedule a daily sale on your Etsy store for specific items such as Mother's Day ATM? So for the daily flash sale, so what she's referring to is when you go to an Etsy listing page, having a sale that way it says 25% off, or essentially a sale helps conversion rate. But one thing that we found is if you have a sale for a product on Etsy that starts and expires within 24 hours, so it expires in 24 hours. Etsy puts a countdown timer on the listing that says, sale ends in 13 hours and 47 minutes. That creates FOMO, like fear of missing out. Like if I wait till tomorrow morning, or I wait to, ask the wife or the husband, can I get this product? It's going to go up 50%. And so essentially it turns into like almost like an impulse buy. So that definitely helps your conversion rate. And so again, you have to have a sale that ends in 24 hours, which means you have to have a new sale every 24 hours. And so what we did is when I did it, you weren't able to really batch it because you weren't able to have newly created products a part of previous sales. And so every night before I went to bed, I just pulled out my phone, got on the app, spent 30 seconds, sale that starts tomorrow, ends tomorrow. The name of the sale is just tomorrow's date. Because if you have to come up with a unique name for a sale 365 times a year, like it's really hard. So I just said the sale is called, 05 2026. That would be my sale for today. And then we would have it be store wide. So I would say select all for all the products, apply. And so that would be a sale good for tomorrow. So now you're able to actually batch it. So Etsy made an update to where you can have all of your current products and all of your future added products to those sections go into previously created sales. So what I would do probably now is maybe once per month, spend 5 minutes and create a sale that starts on the first of the month, the second, the third, the fourth, through the entire month. Because what happens sometimes when you have to do it 365 times a year, we're human, there's human error rate. A couple times a year, I'd forget to set the sale and think, man, why are my sales down 80%? It's like, oh man, everything's up, everything's super expensive. So then that kind of hurts your sales velocity, hurts rank a little bit. So I would say yes, it's part of the process. Part of what we teach is the daily flash sale. That's one of the things that we did since day one. We did the last day we sold Etsy. This thing that's one of the things I teach. Etsy's always testing anything and everything, and they're always changing things. And so if Etsy has something that's been there for that long, it means it's working. So it means it does help conversion rate. It does lead to sales. And so that's why we want to lean into that and add that to all. We did it not category wide or not product wide. We did it shop wide. Every listing has that benefit.
Stefan, can I ask a question?
Yes,
It's Razia. I'm sorry, I don't know how to make this hand.
Nope.
So
You're good.
okay. How do you know how many people are looking for something? Where do I find it?
Let
This
me
information.
I'll share my screen for you really quick. I'll show you. There's a handful of ways you can do it. So one is if you guys have Everbee, for example.
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'll show you 2 ways then. Let me go back to here. Let me go back over to this. Give me 1 sec. All right, something happened where Everbee's not showing as a Chrome extension. I'll show you the 2 spots really quick. So let me share my screen. So one is if you have Everbee and you go to Etsy, it's search volume. So one thing is when you come over to Etsy and you search something like mothers, and when you start to type something in, you're not going to see it on my screen because for some reason Everbee's not showing right here. And when you start to type things in, Everbee in real time shows you the estimated search volume. So it might say 1,000 or 1.3 thousand, 1,000.
Okay.
So it'll show you the numbers right here. And that's how you'll know is you type in, for example, like nurse gift. And then right here, it would say, 63,000. And that's how you would know using Everbee, what's the search volume. And that's estimated monthly search volume for that search term.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And then the next spot, let me pull up, give me 1 sec. I just want to make sure you guys, let me go over to Etsy. Because if some of you guys are on Etsy's paid plan, it's $10 a month. I can show you another spot as well. Wait, I think I lost you guys. Let me put it up right here. I'm just going to sign into my Etsy account so I can show you guys this. All right, so let me hit share one more time. So if you guys you're able to do this too. If you guys are not on the paid Etsy account, 10 times for free per month. But if you're on the paid Etsy account, I think it's $10 per month. It's $10 per month. You guys can go to where is it at? Stats. Okay, so you can come over here to the left. You click onto stats and you click onto marketplace insights. And then you're able to search the search term right here. Like for example, nurse gift. So you can search the search term right here and it gives you the last 30 days. So you can say, okay, in the last 30 days, 11.2 thousand people have searched it. It's been on the rise in the last 30 days because we're going into Nurse Appreciation Month. And then you can see some other related search terms right here. And you can see what's ranking on page 1 right here to see if your product would be relevant for that search term. So those are 2 different ways you're able to get that information. All right. Kelly, did you have another question or is the hand just still raised?
I did not. I'll lower it now.
Okay, no, you're good. You're good. The next question says, can you please provide an example of what product types for a particular niche? So essentially you pick the product types first. And so essentially product types would be again the photo board, the dog collars, the gift vouchers, the ring dishes, the sun catchers. Like you pick the product first, and then when you pick that product, we then then you move. So you do the product first, and then you pick the niches, not the other way around. Because some niches work for that product, some niches don't. And so then you go into from product research to market research. Now we want to study the market. Again, like I mentioned on day one, is Etsy doesn't reward creativity, or if you're an artist or not an artist, it rewards product market fit. Can you acquire a customer with that product for that search term? And we can reverse engineer product market fit by just doing market research. We study the market, we see what's working, and we implement what's working. And the beautiful thing about that is you can use tools like Everbee to scrape listings and get all that market data at our fingertips. And so I have a process where, again, the fact that success leaves, there's people on Etsy right now who are selling that product type. If that product type is dog collar, for example, you can go over to Etsy, grab all the top dog collar sellers, use Everbee to scrape all of their information, all of their listings, their best sellers, and then you can pull that into an Excel sheet. And then you just ask yourself what niches, in that case it would be patterns, but like for ornaments, for example, you have all the top ornament sellers, pull it into an Excel sheet, and you say, okay, these are the top sellers on Etsy for that product type. They're doing something right. What niches are they selling in? And then so you grab that information and you say, okay, their top seller was in the baby's first Christmas. That's one niche. Then there's engagement. That's niche. There's wedding. There's first Christmas, a new home. So you essentially, from the best sellers, you extract the niches that led to the sales that made them one of the top sellers for that product that made your list in the first place, if that makes sense. So there's not any specific niche for a product type. That's something that you would want to do that research in real time, because it's always changing. The market's always shifting. Product life cycles are always, in and out. And so it's not hard. Again, a lot of people just don't do it. Maybe 10 minutes to be able to determine your 20 to 25 niches for that product type. Next one says, is this what you mean? One product that addresses 20 to 25 different niches, events, holidays, family titles, etc. Exactly. So for example, the product type could be Christmas ornaments. We just got out of Q4. So one product type so far, but you're eventually launching to 4 to 5 more. So it would be ornament, and your designs, what designs are we going to put onto that product type? Those designs are going to be for a specific customer that are looking for a specific thing. And that's what I call the niches. And so for our ornaments, we had designs for, again, baby's first Christmas, baby, that's the niche, or maybe that's the recipient. We had designs for engagement. That's one of the niches. And we have 2 niches. We had weddings, anniversaries. We had new homes. So we had pet memorial. We had grandma memorial. We had promoted to. So all those different niches is where our designs fall into for that one product type. And then you do that for that product type, set it all live, and then jump over to your next product type. That might be the picture boards. Do the same thing, set it live, and you just do that 4 to 6 times. And then the products, they start to stack, because this one might sell 20, 25 times per day. The other one sells 20 to 25 times a day. Now you're doing 50 to 70 sales a day. And then the more products you launch, the daily sales start to stack up. And that's how you go from 0 to trying to get to that 150 that you need per day to get you that $1 million roughly number for Etsy. Next one says, this was my original plan, which is why I named my store the Holidays Market. But so many people say to niche down, niche down, niche down. I never listened, so I'm glad to hear this. Yes, again, nothing to them. So whenever I say like my strategy is different, is we all teach how we found success, and they may probably have found success in niching down. So that's how they found success. That's what they know. That's what they teach. I found success going a different route, but I want to share why I went a different route. I heard that same things too. I was the last one to start a YouTube channel. So I heard all that input, but I said, that doesn't make sense for Etsy. I went this route. And as a result, we became one of the top Etsy sellers in the world. At some points we were ranked top 30 out of 9 million. And that's because we went a different route. Let them niche down, let them limit themselves to 1% of the opportunity. I'm building for search volume and the reasoning behind that. Next question is, how do you translate this to digital products? And so again, one thing I mentioned yesterday is so there's 2 opportunities for Etsy. There's physical products and then there's digital products. And so they're both great opportunities, but I think they require slightly different processes and slightly different skill sets. Where, like I mentioned, I'm not a graphic designer. I'm not an artist. I still use Canva to this day. I don't know how to just create clip arts and create watercolor effects and things like that. But I'm able to read the market and we can reverse engineer what's selling. And I would go buy the clip art. I would be your customer. Like, hey, that's a beautiful watercolor sloth or a sloth lover mug. I don't know how to make that watercolor clip art. I'm buying it for $1 and I'm putting it onto my mug. So I know what sells, and I go and acquire the elements, and maybe in some cases buy elements to create what I need that's going to sell. And because I don't have the skill set to, sell the bullets to the war or the shovels to the gold mine or the gold rush, I went another route, leveraging your skills and your products to make my product. But if you have the skill sets to create a lot of people use AI too, so that might be a skill set as well. But if you have the skill sets or the means to create the elements, then that's another opportunity for you as well. But again, I think it's a different playing field where you have to also know what's working and what's selling, and the design attributes that, you can create 1,000 different sloth clip arts, but like, what is the style and the format and the colors for that clip art that's selling on Etsy today? It still requires the market research and where the demand is, and then creating your version and adding value to the market, just in a different way, if that makes sense. Also knowing too that if people, what product types are thriving right now. So a design, if you're creating full wrap designs, if hey, right now, picture boards are popping off, you can create designs for that product type. So you can find niches of the market. Let everyone else do apparel, everyone else do the individual elements that we use broadly. I'm niching down into these other products, and you're serving a different audience. So I don't have a ton of direct experience because I never went down that route personally, but I think there'd be a lot of overlap with that as well. Carrie says, for your pet memorial products, were you making those in-house in order to do the same day shipping? Yeah, so that was one thing that we did is when I started on Etsy, I didn't even know what print on demand was. I thought you had to be handmade. I thought you had to make it yourself. So when we launched our Etsy shop, I went and bought a heat press and a printer and a plastic table, set up in my garage. And it wasn't until we were so far in that I even learned what print on demand was. And so we just continue to just do everything in-house. And so that's why my listings say, ships today, is because we did our own production. And if you ordered as a customer before 2 p.m., we were able to ship today. And so people who are doing print on demand, to kind of find like the 80-20, the same benefit, the same success, it not hurting your conversion rate, finding a production partner that can do at least 1 to 3 days. That's kind of the sweet spot. And then you could do a badge that says ships fast. And so we found that 1 to 3 days for POD, ships fast versus ships today. You're going to get all the same benefits, but not the headache of trying to bring production in-house just for that badge.
Stefan, can I ask one more question, please?
Yeah, of course.
Do you pay attention to the banner? Because if you have so many items, how do you make a banner for the shop?
Yeah, so the banner, which is referring to, is when someone goes to your Etsy, you have your Etsy listing. If they click onto your shop, you have a banner, which is a couple places where you can kind of control like the look and the feel. You have a banner, you have your logo, you have like an announcement, and then you have all of your products. And so for probably the first year and a half, we were very intentional with the banner, where we had kind of a stylized look. We showed different products, and then we would change how it looked for a Mother's Day, for a Valentine's Day, for a Christmas, making it more festive. And then I remember one Q4, we got super busy with production because we did our own production. So I was like, I never updated the banner for Mother's Day. So it never got changed to Halloween, to Thanksgiving. And it still looked like Mother's Day, for Christmas, for the New Year's. And it was like 6 months later, I was like, oh man, it still says Mother's Day on it. I was like, how did that affect our sales? And so it actually didn't hurt conversion, 0%. And so then I was like, I wonder if we even need it. So I turned it off. Didn't hurt sales, 0%. And so one thing for me, I'm not saying don't do a banner, but for me, I was like, if I don't need it, I don't want to have to worry about it or think about it or constantly be changing it. So what we did, not saying that this is part of the strategy, we actually just turned off the banner, and that way it was just one less thing for me to have to think about because I had so many other moving pieces. But essentially, therefore, what I would say, if you want to have a banner, just have it be a standard banner that's like your brand, maybe a couple of benefits that you have, but don't make it something that you're putting too much time, energy, or having to update every season, because that's gonna be a lot of work that isn't really moving the needle. Like the time it would take you to update your banner to look more festive for Halloween, you could launch another product. And that product makes money, a new banner doesn't. And so I would just have one banner and have that just be the banner, and let that be the banner for the next year. And it would just be a general banner, maybe with your shop name, your shop colors, ships fast, free personalization, a couple of benefits, but none of the niches or the products. It's just how you have
You don't change it for holidays?
we used to do that, but it was just a lot of work and effort that didn't make too much of a difference. Again, you can 100% do that. For me, very, very limited time that I could sit in front of the computer and work on the business because we did our production, I had employees, we had so many moving pieces. And so there had to be like a positive ROI for my time. And so when I realized that like the time I was spending wasn't actually moving the needle, I took it off my plate. I was always trying to make it less and less and less work for the same output. So that's what I was saying is yes, have a banner, make it just a general banner. It just only because it's one of the things that doesn't really move the needle. Launch the same time to launch a new product or the effort into making your thumbnail perfect to stop the scroll. That's a way better use of your time versus constantly updating the banner look, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Of course. One says, okay, where do you get the search volume? Everbee, yes. One says, where do you get the search volumes from? Everbee is the one that we use. And then if you have the paid plan, you can also use Etsy, like I showed. Nana, etc. Think different parts of the world. Yeah, so I only showed like what got to the bottom of the screen, but for grandmothers, like you could go to AI and say, what are all the different things people call their grandma? There's all the different things in like Spanish or other languages. There's like 50 that you could choose. But again, the line in the sand is whenever the amount goes below 5%, that yes, someone does call their grandma that, but is it worth the time? But same thing with mom. There's mom, there's mama, there's mommy, there's mima. So even for mom, there's a handful of them that still would be worth launching a design for. Can you give an example for teacher appreciation? It would be worksheets for teachers or printables. When you regard to an example for teacher appreciation, this is Tashana. It would be worksheets for teachers or printables. Teachers would be the niche, printables would be the product. So the product, your one strategic product would be the printables. Again, for me to determine if printables is a strategic product, can I make $100,000 with printables in general? All the niches, all the designs I'm going to create in its entirety. Can I make 6 figures revenue with printables? If no, personally, I wouldn't launch that product type. If yes, it stays on the plate. Can I make $5 or 25% with printables? If no, personally, I would choose a different product. If yes, it stays on the plate. Can I personalize it? With printables, maybe it doesn't make sense to personalize it. Maybe no, but that doesn't mean I would get rid of it necessarily. But again, is there a lot of competition, and how many listings do I need to get to 100,000? If I need 1,000 printables to make $100,000 revenue, I personally would choose a different product type. But essentially, your product type, one of your 4 to 6 would be printables, and one of your 20 to 25 would be teacher. Michael says, never niche down. Yes, don't niche down. At least not for Etsy, for Amazon, for other businesses in general, it can make sense. Again, like my business model, Hollow Custom, we are a personalization automation tool for Etsy print. Like whereas we're a niche within a niche within a niche, it works. So, but for Etsy print on demand, the math don't math. Next one says, this is just what I needed. I'm working on my gift vouchers right now. Yeah, so for the gift vouchers, again, that's going to be one that's going to just explode for Q4 for Christmas. And so again, when I saw that, I was doom scrolling. I was watching season 50 of Survivor. I'm with the family. I'm just doom scrolling on Etsy, found that. And I was like, babe, I think I'm going to start a new business. Like that's how excited I was when I saw that, because it was just like these unheard of, once per year, I'll see those. These crazy opportunities. And again, Etsy's not dead. I think apparel is just saturated. Next one says, Stephen, when you start new right now, would you list now Christmas designs or later in the year? So it's all about relevancy. So again, people and search demand, right? So are people right now searching for Christmas designs in May? Not yet. And so essentially, but people are right now, we're searching for Mother's Day, teacher appreciation. Next, they're going to go into summer months. So it's going to be engagement, bridal showers, groomsmen's, weddings, anniversaries. That's the next season. So I would probably, if I already have my product types chosen, I would launch those niches first. And then when you get closer to Q4, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. I would even launch those Halloween before Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving before Christmas, and then Christmas next. That way I have designs in time when it's relevant. The one caveat here is you have to be very mindful on how fast you can launch designs. So I can launch personally, 10 listings per day if I'm like just locked and I'm launching designs 10 per day. Therefore, I could launch a new product type in terms of like 15 work days. Maybe that's 3 or 4 weeks time. So therefore, I could launch Halloween designs maybe 2 months before Halloween and give myself enough ramp up period to get ranked for Halloween. But if someone only has maybe just Saturday mornings to work on their business, and they can only launch 5 listings on a Saturday morning once per week, that's 5 listings per week. It's going to take them maybe 3 months to launch their Halloween designs. Then yes, you should be working right now because your runway of what you need is longer than me. So you got to be very mindful of how long does it take you to build it out. Therefore, how soon should you be starting? But it's all about relevancy. I would do the wedding niches before Halloween, before Thanksgiving, and then Christmas next. But also, Christmas is the big one here. So if you're sacrificing Christmas to finish Halloween, I would scrap those. Like the big one is Christmas. So make sure you don't miss this one getting distracted on all the other ones leading up to it. Kimberly says, this was great, Stephen. Even after 3 years on Etsy with print on demand, I learned something every day. Thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you, Kimberly. I appreciate it. Again, I love Etsy print on demand. There's so many different ways to go about the business model. This was just the direction that I went personally. When we pick the 6 core products and then pick the 20 niches, that's a big frog to tackle all at once. Would you pick 1 or 2 and fill that out and then move on? So yeah, the way that this works on a high level, and this will make at the end of tomorrow, I'll kind of map out what it looks like. And so that's when it all comes together. Now, what does month 1 look like, month 2, month 3? So it'll make more sense tomorrow. So don't miss tomorrow's call. But essentially, you build out 1 product type at a time. So when it's all done and built, and you step back and you look at it, you will have 4 to 6 products, each having this. But what am I doing right now today? Right now, we got to pick a product. So we're going to go find 4 to 6 or maybe 10. That way we have enough opportunity to pick which one's the best. Don't always launch the first one you see. Like, don't default like we'll do with apparel. The first one you see is always the best. So go find 4 to 6 and then pick one that is the best. And then you're picking 1 product. And for that 1 product, you're then going to choose 20 to 25 niches. So it takes maybe 10 minutes to find the product, 10 minutes to map out, okay, it's going to be ornament with a gift box for Q4. It's going to be these 20 niches, 30 minutes of work to get there. Now you have direction to go create your listings, but you're not trying to create those. You're not trying to create 20 to 25 niches for every product to have this huge to-do list, because you're going to kind of do that in time, because the list might be changing. The list is always changing. The market's always moving. The opportunity is always shifting. A product that wasn't an opportunity today might become an opportunity tomorrow, like those gift vouchers that no one's ever heard of. Never even thought about that a month ago, now makes the list. So always I'll be doing the product research when it's ready for the next product launch. But again, that'll make more sense tomorrow. Just give yourself enough to do the next step. Kevin says, you were not lying when you said today was going to be even more eye-opening. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. If today was eye-opening, just wait till tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. So it gets even more eye-opening of tomorrow is where it takes like a strategy that's being kind of pushed really hard right now and saying, that doesn't make sense. That's not how I went this way. And then as a result, it probably takes 15 pounds and probably 90% of the work off your table. That's when it's like, man, it actually is a lean approach to Etsy print on demand. And thank God I don't have to do that, because when I heard that I had to do that, it was like, how am I get tomorrow is going to be a whole other different approach, and why specifically for Etsy you have to do it that way when comparing the two. June says, I felt this was what I was leaning towards, but couldn't put it together like you did. This was so helpful. Thank you. Yeah, again, hopefully I'm able to teach it in a way that makes sense, because I want to make sure you guys are able to hear the strategy, understand the reasoning behind it with complete confidence. That way, if you hear a video saying something else, you don't sway, easily. Like, no, that's not me. That's not right for my business for me today. And the reasoning behind that. And also the more someone feels confident in the process, I've always found the more confident I am in doing something, the more likely I am actually to take action. And the more action you take, the more steps forward you're going to take, the more success you're going to see in your business. And so the proof in the pudding is really important for me to make sure I can get that across to you guys.
Stefan, do you have someone that is making these vouchers?
So for the vouchers, so I'll be able to put that all in context tomorrow. So
Okay.
Don't miss tomorrow's call, and then
I
I'll
want.
answer that one for you. That's me, hooking you guys for just one more day of your time.
I won't miss it. Don't worry.
Perfect. Kelly says, I have a POD business. How would you do purchase vouchers? Again, come to tomorrow's call. I'll tell you. Next one says, in 50 minutes, you made selling on Etsy so clear, so smart. Thank you so much. Excited for tomorrow. Thank you, Michelle. Again, 3 years of testing and trials and errors and learnings and luckily keeping what works and removing what doesn't work. Like I mentioned on day one, is I want to give you guys a very clear roadmap from just starting out or zero or where you're at today to that $1 million level. That's like life-changing money. And that way, and only give you what you have to do. And if I'm telling you to do it, it's because I've tried removing it and I had to put it back in. Like I teach personalization. If I didn't have to do personalization, I wouldn't, because it was a complicated process. It was a love-hate relationship, but I found that I had to do it, right? So that way I can give you guys just what you have to do. That way everything else just becomes noise. You can tune everything else out, all those conflicting YouTube videos. You know your path, what the process. There's so many different ways to find success. You, instead of just doing a little bit of everyone, you picked one and you're just going to put your head down and work in that direction. And that's going to actually help you see more success. I've talked to so many, not YouTubers, I've talked to so many Etsy sellers who are just getting started or people who are like just getting started in business. And what I see is there's like 3 phases of business. And I went through all 3 of these. And so it's kind of hard to not go through these 3. So if you're in one of the first 2, it's only natural, it's only organic. You can't go to college to learn how to sell products on Etsy. There's number 1, there's a spiral phase. And so that's where you're like, you don't know left from right, you're spiraling, you're watching all the YouTube videos, you don't have the context of should I follow this or follow this. And so and then after you start to take some action, see a couple wins, you start to piece together some strategies, you go from a spiral phase to the zigzag phase. That's where you're starting at some direction, some things are working, but you don't know why that worked, or could I replicate that again for the next thing? So you're starting to move in your direction, but it's not moving fast enough, or it's not moving with the consistency, or you don't really know why it's working, but it is. Then you go to the zigzag phase, and then so I'm trying to give you guys is it's like the straight line phase. It's like I've gone through those. This is the straight line. Now I can just put my head down, tune everything else, and I'm just going to go straight line to the level that we're all trying to grow our business to. And so again, we're trying to get to that straight line, the direct path. Richard says, also going back to yesterday, I have a lot of scuba stuff, and scuba divers love hoodies and sweatshirts. The Verbatim apparel lose them. So again, if someone has apparel, I'm not saying lose apparel. If someone's building out apparel, all I'm saying is open your eyes to a broader picture of the next apparel that you launch. If the niche is scuba, do you launch another scuba design, or do you maybe launch the engagement wine glass going into bridal shower season this summer? So essentially, knowing that there's more opportunity and why we're building for search volume, and if you love scuba, again, I'll say this also is there's a kind of a fine line between like passion and what we want to do and Etsy print on demand. And what I mean by that is we sold dog collars, but I actually don't own a dog. Not that I don't like dogs, it's just I don't own a dog, but I saw an opportunity for a dog collar, so I launched it. We sold those picture boards. I actually never made one for my own house. I mean, we sold thousands and thousands of them. I never once made one for myself. So I joke and say, like, I would personally sell personalized toilet seat covers if there was a market for it. So essentially, it's our job to find product opportunities and create designs that make people happy. We're not necessarily our customers. We're not necessarily building our business for ourselves. We're building it for Etsy and Etsy's customers. And so, so if scuba is the niche, maybe if you want to keep going that direction, maybe you launch a second Etsy shop, and that could be the niche one. That's the passion project, the hoodies. And then if you're trying to go this route, then you can give yourself permission on this Etsy account to follow the 3-part framework. Michael says, do you put multiple niches in one store? So I think that might have been a question answered earlier, because now we're going back. I'm answering a lot of older questions. So yeah, we put everything in one store. So it's called a hybrid store. So all 4 to 6 products in one store, all niches in one store. Most people who come to Etsy, they go to Etsy, they search for what they want, engagement candle, and then they find the engagement candle, they buy the product. 1% of people will click into your store, and then for that 1% that clicks into the store, if they see what they also have dog collars and baby's first Christmas ornaments, I'm not going to buy this candle anymore. That doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt your store. It doesn't feel messy, or it doesn't feel like you're the master of candles because of a candle store. We went really broad, and we had no hurt. We actually had a higher conversion rate on average. Our conversion rate was 6%. Etsy's average is 1 to 3%. So we converted 2 to 6 times more than the average. So facts, having a hybrid store does not hurt. It does not deter customers. It does not put a bad taste. There's $100 million companies like Personalization Mall, where their store or their niche is just personalization, giftability. So they have all those niche products for all the holidays, all the events, and they're doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and their niche is personalization or gift giving. So there's no you don't have to be product specific or niche specific to sell on Etsy. Next one says, should you weed out poor sellers or leave them just in case? So I will say this too, it depends how long it's been a poor seller. So we would always launch products. If it's one that you're like, hey, I've gone through the process and I created a design for a no-no for a mom and there's just no search volume there, maybe you'd prune that one off. But if it's like, man, this is like a mom design on a 40-ounce tumbler. It's a big niche. It's a big product. I'm looking at the design. It's a good design. It just hasn't taken off yet. I would wait. So essentially, again, we would do most of our velocity in Q4. So there's some designs that we would launch in like February because it made the list. I know it's got sales potential. It's one of the big niches. It was when I launched it, never really took off too hard. But come Christmas, we were selling maybe 4 or 5 a day, sold 200 for Christmas. I'm glad I kept it on. So sometimes you'll just see some things that just never sell year round, especially those more super niched, like Nina's, those more granular search terms. They might not really pick up during the off season, but then really ramp up for Mother's Day and ramp up for Christmas. And so for those, as long as it still hits the criteria, like it's a good product, it's a good niche, there's search volume there, you're looking at the design, and it's still a good design. A good rule of thumb there is go to Etsy and search that niche, that product on Etsy, and see what page 1 looks like. Because if you're trying to ramp that product, the goal is to get to page 1 because that's where all the customers are at. So the goal is to be right there in the mix. I want to be right at the top of page 1. So if I go to page 1 and see what the competition looks like, if they got better designs, better thumbnails, better prices, then yes, I should fix that up before I really push it. Or if I don't think I can get that product there, then again, maybe at that point, prune it. But in most cases, I would say let it run through Christmas season and then reevaluate in January. Patricia says, can you create departments in your Etsy store so that way it looks organized when you have 20 different niches? Yeah, so they're called categories. So when someone comes into your shop, you have all your listings, and on the left-hand side, you have the different categories. You can have up to 20. That's where we would have those organized by niche. And so typically people are looking for, again, they're buying something for, again, the evergreen events, the recipients, the person. And so if I'm looking for an engagement gift and I found someone's engagement candle and I clicked onto the listing and I went into their shop, why would I go into their shop? I'm going into their shop to see if they have any other engagement designs or any other engagement gifts. I'm still kind of shopping, but I know I want it to be engagement. And so if I clicked into your shop and I saw a tab at the top that says engagement, that's like, hey, that's perfect. So I click onto engagement. Now I can see all of your engagement designs for candles. Hey, they also have engagement ornaments and picture boards and a few other products, tumblers. So for a customer experience, it doesn't like deter me. It's actually servicing me better. So I only clicked into your shop through my search from engagement gift to do what you're servicing me with the category. So that's how we always organized it was the different niches. Some products are like the product is the niche. And what I mean by that is like dog collars. There isn't like a Mother's Day dog collar or a Father's Day dog collar. So we had one category just called dog collars. So that all the dog collars went into that one category. During Christmas season, we would put our ornaments, like our engagement ornaments and our engagements. So we'd branch those out into their different niches. But then after Christmas, we would take them all and then put it into one category at the very bottom called Christmas ornaments. That way, if someone clicks on engagement in May, they're probably not looking for an ornament. So I just want to take away all of the clutter for those and only show them more relevant product types that way. River says, I did not receive the video from yesterday. So it depends if maybe you registered after the fact or maybe if, so essentially when I send out today's recording, it's going to say, here's days 2 recordings. And if you missed day 1, here's day 1's recording. So with today's recording, you will also receive day 1's as well. I didn't get that email, Lisa. make sure you guys are on this call. So I mean, therefore I have your email. I'll make sure that before I send today's replay, I'll make sure I just scrape all the emails one more time from Zoom. That way, if there's anything that fell through the cracks, we can update that when I send today's email. You will get today's and yesterday's as well. One person said that I'm afraid I may have erased the email. I just can see the mail of Zoom. Yeah. So again, you're gonna get an email today for today, tomorrow from tomorrow, and then you'll get the replays on day 3. You'll get day 3s, day 2s, and days 1s, for example. So you'll definitely make sure to check that out. Also, make sure if maybe it went to spam. I'm not sure if it went to spam, but I would check that place as well. Next one says, I'm just getting started. I've been researching, studying what you're saying makes sense. Work smart, not harder. Exactly. So that's the big thing here is, again, I know that most people here have job commitments, you have family commitments. We're trying to start this to maybe supplement something, buy back some of our time. But maybe we have just the evenings. I talked to a lot of people and they're working from 6 to 4:30 and then with the family at bedtime, and they're working on this from midnight to 2 a.m. And so we have a very finite amount of time to put into this business. And so that's what I was saying is like every minute that I spend at my laptop, it needs to be very intentional. And that's why I took, like, when I did find success, I was very intentional. Like, why did that work? Because I want to replicate that, but how can I do it easier? So it quite literally work smarter, not harder. There's 1,000 different ways to find success. And we found that I was able to find success with this approach and knowing all the YouTubers and how everyone found success and the amount of listings they had. And in my personal opinion, this is the easiest way to do it. And we had the easiest way to do it. And we sold more than almost all the YouTubers combined. And so it's in my personal opinion, like this was the way to find success on Etsy. And this is the way 100% that I would do it again today. Like I mentioned earlier in the call, is we kind of really started this framework with our first successful launch. And we did it again, the framework that you guys are doing right now for the second product, the third, the fourth, the fifth. And every single product that we launched on Etsy did at least 100,000 up to $1 million. So it worked every single time without fail. And so, I mean, that's not luck. That's repeatable success. I mean, something was working. And so again, that's why if I did this over today, again, if I did this over again today, I know exactly what I would be doing. That's exactly what I'm showing you guys on today's call. All right, I'm taking a picture. Can you send it to this email? I'm gonna make sure, I'm just taking a picture of it so I got it on my phone. I'll make sure that email address that you sent over is on the list to make sure that you receive the replays. Yes, 100%. River says, can you share one of your Etsy shop's names so I can go see how it's organized, how you're organizing it? So we closed our Etsy shop when we launched Hello Custom. I'm a big believer in doing everything with excellence. So we had our Hello Custom account, sorry. After about 2 hours, I started to go brain dead talking for 2 hours straight. So we had our Etsy account. So again, we had a warehouse, we had 12 employees. We're managing that. There was that's a full-time job. I'm launching a software company, Hello Custom. That was new to me. So that's a full-time job. We were launching we did a print on demand $1 million challenge. I was doing a YouTube. We're filming. I still had a family and wife at home that missed me 16 hours a day. So we ended up closing the print shop to go full focus into Hello Custom. That way I could just build Hello Custom with excellence and get that 100% my focus. And so the Etsy shop that we had was called Made by Artly. So if you go there, you can see, hey, yes, he has 227,000 sales. But there's no products live. So you won't be able to see the categories on there. But essentially the categories on the left would just be the niches, the high level niches. Teacher, nurse, engagement, wedding, anniversary, new home, mom, so just high level ones. If you did all the different sub niches of grandma, it would just be grandma. And then all the sub niches would be there as well. Because you're limited to just 20, but you might have 25. So you got to kind of group some subcategories together. Next one says, how can you not niche down when it comes to printables? It has to be age appropriate. Not niching down for printables, it needs to be age appropriate. So niching down, when I say go broad or niching down, so you're saying it needs to be age appropriate 100%. But like, for example, when you're creating, let's say clip art. So clip arts would, I guess, be like the category that you're designing for. And then, but some people might be looking for clip arts that are sloths, but some are looking for horses, and some might be looking for, dog breeds. So those would all be like animals. Like that would be the niche of like, these are my printables for animals, but also some people might be looking for like patterns. Like our dog collars were all patterns. So I'm going to Etsy as a customer and I'm searching for, dog pattern, like all the paw prints. And so that would be a different, I would say, niche would be, it wouldn't be animals, it'd be patterns. And so, or if you're doing like the printables, like someone was saying earlier that they had the printables for teacher, maybe you have some planners for teachers and then some, morning routines for nurses and some checklist move out for, homeowners. And so those would be the different niches, but I just pull those out of my head, but you got to make sure that there's actually search volume first. So again, only create it if people are looking for it. Just because you create it doesn't mean it'll sell. We got to justify the product, then justify the niche, to then justify that it's worth my time to then create last. But yeah, that age appropriate. Again, that's one thing too. When someone comes to our shop, like our shop, there's a lot of niches that make a lot of money that go after political designs, a lot of opportunity for the more kind of crude humor. We just made all of our designs. If a soccer mom came to our store, like this is the perfect, everything was like cute. It was age appropriate. It was bright. It was bubbly. We were definitely within that realm of Etsy. Betty says, on listing, is that a couple of products a day or list all of them at one time? On listing, is that a couple of products a day? So what we would do is we would batch work the niche. And so this will make more sense again tomorrow when I get into like design variations and the strategy behind that. And so we launch a certain amount of designs per niche. And so I don't want to give away too much because I'm going to go into way detail tomorrow. But we would essentially, if we were launching a handful of designs for that niche, for that product, we launch those all at the same time. That way they all get launched at the same time. They're ranking at the same time. And the winner of is the one that's going to get ranked. And that'll make more sense tomorrow versus if you create all 150 listings and then you launch them all at once, we would put them in batches. So essentially launching, whenever we finish the amount of listings for the niche is when we launch those designs all at once. June says, I'm still confused on how to find the number one question. Can you make 6 figures revenue per year? So this is when you're at the product research phase, it's high level. And so what I mean by that is, let me go over to Etsy really quick. I'll share my screen. Let me go, I'm only gonna spend a minute on this just for everyone else. If I go over to candle, hopefully they show up if they rank now. All right, so this was one of the products, this off-color candles. This shop right here. So you essentially you do the process where you dive into the niches. You're looking for non-default products. You see a product that isn't a shirt, a mug, a tote bag, a blanket that ranked on page 1 for, I think I searched engagement is when I found them. So if a product ranks on page 1 for a big niche like engagement, and it's not a shirt, a tote bag, a blanket, or a mug, then it's doing some sales velocity. That's not a default product. It might be strategic. And so remember, I saw one of their, I think it was this one right here. It smells like name hit the effing jackpot, right? So it's like it's a funny engagement candle. So this is the one that made the list right here. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. It's different. It's vibey. It's bright in a category where all candles are typically the amber jars and dark and moody. They went a complete opposite. So this was like a pattern interrupt. And then I clicked into their listing and I clicked onto their shop. And then I was like, whoa, at the time it said 1.5 years. So I'll just use 2 here. So 42,000 sales in 2 years. And so you could say, okay, that the average is 20,000 per year, but they typically build up. I typically say they grow about 50% per year. So I would probably say maybe 15,000 sales year 1 and 25,000, 27,000 sales year 2, but rough math, let's just say 20,000 sales. And so you don't even need a research tool for this. We're rough mathing how many sales they got. So, okay, last year they sold 20,000 candles. Okay, 20,000 times, what's the average price? This is a daily low display price because it has the plus. What's the average for their candle? Okay, I see, let me zoom in a little bit, sorry. The average is $19.20. And so what is 20,000 times 19.20 equals 384,000. And so does 8-ounce frosted candles on Etsy make at least 6 figures, means 100,000? We just calculated 384,000. So that's yes. And so it's just at a high level, is there sales velocity through this? Can a seller today make at least 100,000? And when I do my product research too, like when I find these numbers, I try to find shops that are between 1 and 3 years old. And so if this shop right here, if I saw this and it caught my attention and it said 10 years, I think, oh man, that's that's probably not. But but essentially, what if there's another seller that's newer that is also, so that's when I'd go to Etsy and I'll try to see if there's another seller. Because when I launch this product, I'm launching it today. So I'm going to be a new seller. So I want to find metrics from new sellers. I'm trying to carve my place in the market today, not 10 years ago. And so you want to try to keep the data as close to you as possible, because I'm trying to mirror and kind of fly similar to this shop. And so that's why this one made the list on the 100,000, $5 profit. Again, we're rough mathing it is, come over here, you click into the listing. And so we say, okay, $19.20. 1920 plus what is the shipping? They're charging $14.51 for shipping. Oops, go back. 14.51. So the cart total is going to be $33.71. Etsy blended is about 10% in fees. So I'm going to remove 10%. Advertising costs, because I plan on advertising, average blended total advertising cost of sales is about 15%. So I'm going to remove another 15%. Let's say shipping for this, maybe shipping for this is, $14.51 for this. So I'm going to minus shipping if I wanted to replicate this, minus 14.51. What's left over? $11.21. And so, so essentially, you take the numbers, rough math it. Do I think I can make $5 profits, or can I get a candle for like $7, $8? If so, then it makes the list. And so, and yes, you can. So those are the rough math to justify a product. And that's why it doesn't take long to determine. Again, 5 minutes to ask these 5 questions to, should I do this product? Yes or no. And if this said $80,000, I would say no. I have no loyalty to candles. I have no potential love for candles. I'm just trying to find a product opportunity that's better than the next. That way it's a better ROI for my time investment. Yeah, hopefully it makes sense, June. Jumping on to the next one, it says, will this framework be successful for a shop with only digital products? I'd have to think about it. I think it would be a little different with digital products, because you're selling, again, like the bullets to the war or the shovels. And so there's a lot of, you might have to do, like when we get into tomorrow, I think there's gonna be, I don't know 100%. It's only because I've never done it. So therefore I've never tried to frame it in that context, that opportunity. But a lot of the things that I'm teaching high level, like you need to make sure you go broad enough and not niche down. That's going to be 100% relevant to digital products. When I go over tomorrow, how many listings should we be going into every specific niche and why we cap at this number, where we find that tilting point on diminishing returns, that is also going to relate to digital products because it's a listing on Etsy. And so I would say the framework would probably be 80% the same in how you go about doing the research and how you go about creating the listings and launching why. The back end would probably be what's different. But the framework, I think, would be about 80% the same. Next one says, how do you connect my store with Hello Custom so that way they can make my customized gifts vouchers? Today, I don't think they add the scratch off circle. You currently have to add it yourself. So yeah, in terms of the vouchers, I'll go over that one a little bit more tomorrow. Again, that was still kind of on the table a little bit, but that product is 100% unique because it's not just a print card, but then you have the ability for like the gold foil print and the ability for the scratcher and where the scratcher goes. And so definitely a unique product, and why it's again a higher barrier to entry product. There's a lot of little things with that one, and again, so that would be first movers advantage, high barrier to entry. That one would just, yeah, that one's going to take off. Hey, where can you see the video of yesterday? I missed it and feel like I'm missing something. Yeah, so this is day 2 of 3 days. So that we had one yesterday. When I send today's replay, it'll probably be 2 to 3 hours after we get off this call, because it takes Zoom, the hosting platform, a couple hours to give me the video. But when I receive it, I email it to you guys. And then when I email you today's video, in that email, there's going to be, hey, did you miss day 1? If so, and I'm going to give you yesterday's replay as well. Oh, Michael says Everbee isn't working. Okay, so it wasn't just me. So hopefully, I mentioned Everbee and everyone went over there and we crashed his server. But no, Everbee is my go-to for the product research. There's a lot out there. They all give you great data when it comes to doing it manually or with a tool. The speed of how the market's moving and sellers are coming in, and the speed of like how fast we need to be launching. Definitely, that's one of the things where I think you do have to have a tool. to be able to get that information, validate the information to then justify the next step. Next one says, here's another email. I'm just gonna, a couple people are just giving me their email addresses so I can make sure they receive it. But essentially, if you're on this call, that means you registered for the event, which means I have your email, and you should be able to receive at least day 2. And with day 2, you will receive day 1 as well. Does selling printables on POD, but not in the same listing confuse Etsy? My shop is about 5.5 months old in the Christian faith niche, but sell both in my shop and don't have much search volume. So one is, again, there's not an exact answer. So one is, personally, if I was wanting to do downloadables and non-downloadables, I personally would put those into 2 separate shops. I would go broad with physical and broad with digitals. Some people are, like from yesterday, some people mentioned that they do stack them in one. The benefits, you can leverage the reviews, but it can create some confusion. And what the one seller from yesterday said was they just make it very clear in the title, probably made close to the front, it says digital download, all caps, just to prevent any confusion. But in terms of 5.5 months, it really comes down to, again, relevancy for the designs that you have. Maybe we're in a season right now where people aren't really looking for that product or that niche because they're busy right now buying things for their mom. So all the market cash flow is they're thinking mom and grandmas and nurses and teachers, maybe not personalized Bibles or something in the faith niche. And so, but maybe when it comes closer to Easter time, you ramp up, so a lot of niches, they ebb and flow, they come in and out of seasonality. And that's why we want to go broad, as some will be up, some will be down, but total for the store, we got daily consistency. So that's, and also 5.5 months, you're still fairly new. Etsy does take time for things to get going. It's I call it like a flywheel effect. It takes time for that flywheel to start turning. It takes a couple weeks even to just for your ads to start showing. Your ads start showing, you get clicks, and then the clicks slowly get sales, and you slowly drive rank. And so even though 5.5 months seems like a long time, it depends how many actually listings and how many products and how many niches you actually are in. But if it's just the niche of Christian/faith, maybe again it's just we're out of season right now for that niche. All right, next one says, would you consider creating digital products for those gift vouchers, or does that market seem oversaturated? Sorry, mute someone really quick. Oversaturated. Is it a bad practice to combine digital or physical paper in one listing? If you think it's going to create confusion, don't do it. And so that's why I personally would probably separate them, because I would hate to create any confusion. Any confusion hurts conversion rate, and we want to have as high as conversion rate as possible. But if it could be very, very clear that this one's digital, this one's not, I would also make those separate listings actually, because if you put the digital on the physical, and if they buy the digital, then that order doesn't have a tracking number, and that actually hurts your metrics on the back end. So you'd have to make those 2 different listings. Again, it just makes it a little bit more complex, I think, that way. But again, I'm going to be saying, hey, go launch gift vouchers. There's 100 people in this call that are going to go create gift vouchers. Some people, again, have more time or more money. There's a market of people that are going to go buy the designs for that. So if you see that there's a gap in the market, then gaps are opportunities. So 100%, if you think it's big enough, and you get the skill set that some people may not have, they would rather just buy a finished design. That's definitely an opportunity. Tony says, how do you handle pricing? Etsy is like a race to the bottom. Competition is always cheaper and cheaper. Yeah, so that's the downside to a marketplace sometimes, and it's a game that we never played, is always trying to be cheaper than the next guy, because that's a short-term game. If the average price, but I found on a marketplace in general, is there's kind of a sweet spot for the product. At this price, you get the most profit and the most sales velocity. Yes, if we charge a little bit more than that sweet spot, we'll make a little bit more profit, but sales velocity goes down. Sales velocity goes down, rank goes down. So there's like, oh man, we got to readjust back to the sweet spot. If you lower your price point, there's like this indirect relationship with price and sales velocity. So price goes down, you make less profit, but sales velocity goes up. Sales velocity goes up, you rank higher, it gets that flywheel moving faster. So there's kind of like this balancing act of where's the best spot. But unfortunately, when you lower your price and you get an uptick in sales, you drive rank, you took someone's spot. And then so they're like, oh, then they lower their price and they outrank you, and then you lower your price. And so it can very easily become a race to the bottom. And so that's why when we do our market research, I say, okay, the average selling price for this product on Etsy, without trying to cut the market, because I can win with a better design, I can win with better lead times, I can win with better listings and all these other things. I don't have to rely on being cheaper to get this sale. I can have everything else work wholesomely together to win. And so we would kind of find that sweet spot. That way we didn't start that whole pricing war. And so that's just the main thing there is when you find the product opportunity, you're calculating profit before you even create your first design. So at that price point, does it make $5? If yes, and then when you launch it, just don't start that. And then if someone does do this, don't be reactionary to it, because yes, they might get some increased sales, but you can always outmaneuver that with just adding more value other ways, and also the cheapest one isn't always the best one. Kim says, I did some viewing on your YouTube channel and the suggested videos on Hollow Custom. Great resource. Awesome. Thank you, Kim. I have a YouTube channel. I don't have a ton of content. So therefore, if I took the time to create a video for it, it's worth watching. So we have some tutorial videos, maybe like 20 other videos. But definitely know if I over 3 years only created like 20 like actual training videos, they're definitely worth watching. Penny says, I missed this part. Are those gift vouchers available for print on demand, or are you printing them yourself? Essentially, I'm going to give you guys an update to some things, the direction, how custom, a lot of just open more opportunities on tomorrow's call. So that's me kind of baiting you, Penny, to come tomorrow. But that was the voucher one isn't necessarily a direct one with tomorrow's training. I kind of showed that one because it's like there's always opportunities that are coming to surface every single day. As long as you're looking for strategic products, a lot of people, product research is not hard. Most people just skip it. And so the fact that I was able to find that while scrolling on my phone while watching Survivor with the kids, there's so much opportunity on Etsy and all these, smaller and different ways with these more unique products. You just got to look where to find them and make sure then launch those ones specifically. Kim says, you need to be more mindful where your sales are being generated from, as in Southern Hemisphere, when you're moving into the winter. Think of the different. Exactly. It being essentially, I always try to put myself in the shoes of my customer. Like right now, sales might be down for, again, like the faith niche. Why? Where's my money going right now? Oh, I just got done spending money on Mother's Day gifts and other things. So my money is going to here. Therefore, I'm not really thinking about here. This Mother's Day is relevant. Therefore, the other niches are kind of secondary. So essentially always being mindful of like, where's the market, what's selling right now? Because those are always ebbing and flowing throughout the year. But that's why we go broad. That way, this one can ebb and flow this way. We can offset that ebb and flow with this one. And when it all normalizes, at the end of the day, we have consistency with our total sales. The sales is consistent, the revenue is consistent, but each individual niche and product design might always be ebbing and flowing. Some are up, some are down, but at the end of the day, we have stability. Next one says, would you put apparel and digital products together in one shop? I think I answered this a couple of times. Personally, I wouldn't, but again, there's pros and cons. I would also depend on skill set, just because I don't have the skill set, which is why I never went that direction. Next one says, I didn't get the replay from yesterday either. I logged into Zoom through my phone. You should be totally fine. Essentially, you signed up for this call via your email. I have your email. Some people signed up after we went live. Therefore, when I sent the replay, they registered after. Therefore, you never got the replay. And so I think there's a handful of people who registered for technically day 2. When I emailed out today's training, you will get yesterday's as well. So you should be good. Another informative day. Thank you, Stephen. Looking forward to tomorrow. Thank you so much. Again, tomorrow is when everything comes full circle. Eyes are going to be open. If you thought today was eye-opening, if you thought day 1 was eye-opening, day 3 is going to be that much more, in my personal opinion. Yes, I have 2 years and it's not moving yet. I think that was probably an answer to a question. Learned so much today and can't wait for tomorrow. Thank you, Stephen. Awesome. Thank you, River. Again, looking forward to tomorrow as well. CJ says, where'd it go? Do you think POD and handmade physical products should be in different shops, or do you think it blended the two? I think, yeah, I answered that one a couple of different times. Do you think this one's actually different. Sorry. Do you think POD and handmade physical, so they're both physical, should be in different shops, or should you blend? I would put those in one shop if they're both physical, and you could almost think like if there's some that you're hand making and there's some that you're outsourcing. So it'd be the same thing as just having different production partners. You're just the production partner for one of them. Yes, some people might buy this one, and you're getting shipped from 2 different locations. That's just the name of the game of going product diverse. But I would say 95% of our orders were just single, or maybe even 97 were just a single product type. So they bought maybe if they bought 1 dog collar or 2 dog collars, but it was just dog collar, not a dog collar and a Christmas order. Maybe 99%. It was very, very, very little amount of our orders or different product types in the order. Therefore, it's like, yes, maybe we lost a little bit of profit on that one order due to double shipping, but the benefit of all the sales we got for those dog collars by launching with 13,000 reviews day one greatly outweighs for losing profitability on 1% of your orders that are condensed or combined. So I think it should be good. All right, that is the bottom of the chat. All right, does anyone else have any other questions? Or if so, feel free to load it in the chat, or otherwise you guys can raise your hand. Otherwise, we can call it day 2. I can send out the replays later this evening. And again, we go into day 3, same time tomorrow. Just like today, at the end of the call, I want to make sure I'm available to you guys to answer any questions. So if there's any questions that come to mind about day 2 later today, feel free, you guys can ask those questions on day 3 as well. All right, I think I'm going to call that it for day 2. Again, I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and call that it for today. Again, thank you guys so much for spending your Tuesday with me. This is the difference. You guys are showing up. You guys are taking action. You guys are investing the time to learn a skill set to apply into your business, something that most people don't do. So I'm really excited to spend this time with you, and I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow. All right, guys, take care.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Pamela.